Dracarys.
I will hurt you for this.
I am the sword in the darkness.
Lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
Let me give you some advice, bastard.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
The Dance of the Dragons. A stupid name for a Targaryen civil war where my ancestors danced away my birthright. Before the war, House Targaryen counted 18 dragons. By the end, we had 2, and nearly as few Targaryens. We would never be as powerful or as feared again.
Gods. Kings. Fire. And blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did. The threat of war looms.
Dawn is coming. New line of unsullied kings.
Tell me what you know.
And welcome welcome all to the episode 7 after show discussion. And wow, here we are, folks. The penultimate episode of season 4, the second to last, is here. And I got to say, it was definitely a much different episode than I was expecting. In a good way, in many ways, a good way. I had fun with this episode. I thought this was, again, very unexpected. Some things that happened, very interesting, fun, definitely a good penultimate episode that we've come to expect from the format of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Usually we always get something good in the penultimate episode. And I was wondering what they were going to do with this penultimate episode, just considering that a lot of us seem to kind of see that the Battle of Templeton itself isn't going to happen until episode 8. So I think a lot of us, myself included, were wondering, what's episode 7 going to look like? Is it only going to be a setup episode? And it wasn't. It wasn't just a setup episode by any means. This was actually a really, really good episode. I had a lot of fun watching this one. And definitely looking forward to diving into it and hearing what you guys have to say. Definitely had some problems, and we'll talk about both. But I thought this was a fun episode. Unexpected, too. That Caraxes is freaking badass. Seeing Caraxes in action was so fun. It was just, even if it's something kind of just completely for the show, it was just fun seeing Caraxes in action. Not just Caraxes, all of them. That was like a pretty fun dragon battle to watch. So yeah, I had fun with this episode.
Yeah. And I think, I literally just in the pre-show, and I was the reason that we started late because I started jabbering on about this and that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just a few minutes ago, I was like, a little more dragon and a little less house in House of the Dragon. And we got our dragons. And I thought, and then I was like, oh man, they're going to have them just sitting there chirping at each other and screaming at each other, but not really doing anything. No, we got a legit fight. Right. And, it didn't turn out how I expected. You see like one get chomped on the neck, and I just assumed that once you get chomped on the neck, that that dragon lost. So clearly, in 2 cases, in just that fight alone, one dragon will grab another by the neck, and it does not mean that they're out of play or dead in any kind of way. It was a pretty interesting scene with Sheep Stealer. and then we did get our long-awaited return of Sunfire, which was super cool.
Yes.
And I knew when he
Yes.
was talking, I see, and I didn't
I
think
knew it. It was perfectly set up. Like the way that they're setting up this whole last stand of Aegon. I mean, yes, it was very expected. It was very predictable, but it was still so fucking fun to see Sunfire come back like that. And just, again, Tonglin Carney is great in these kind of scenes where these very grandiose scenes where he's giving these speeches. This,
Yeah.
I see why people were praising his performance about episode 7 before the episode aired. He was good. It was definitely one of the highlights of the episode. But yeah, you could tell it was very much building up to this big Sunfire return. And again, it was fun.
Yeah. And the Sunfire had the effect. I remember Jurassic Park when the Tyrannosaurus, 1 minute when it walks, it shakes the water, and then the next minute when it needs to be silent and appear out of nowhere, it appears out of nowhere. That's what Sunfire did. And I was like, you know what? That's what, you let it go for a show. You let it go, and for the net effect of what it delivered, because here's Aegon just giving his speech. I'm, the king of the sixth of his name. Whatever. Roynar and the Andals and the First Man Ball, and then you're like, okay, well. But then at that point you knew it was coming, so I was already in the chat saying Dracarys. Before Sunfire even showed up. But then and clearly Sunfire is still ground based. He's not flying, but he just comes rumbling through. That was a super cool scene, and I was like, well, what's he gonna do? Are the mutants gonna drop to their knee, or are they gonna swear over, or what? Nope. And they got a Dracarys.
They're gonna get roasted. They're gonna straight up roasted the mutants. It was good. Yeah, it was really good. And I like how you bring up the Jurassic Park thing, because it did kind of have that feeling to me when I was watching it. Just hearing the kind of breaking of the trees and seeing something ruffling in the background, and it's a dragon because you know what show you're watching. But it did give me that Jurassic Park feeling of the T-Rex moving through the jungle just before it's about to appear. It very much and I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was fun. But yeah, let us know in the chat, guys. What did you guys think of episode 7 overall? What was your favorite scene of episode 7? What was your least favorite scene of episode 7? We want to hear from you guys. Katrina Marie says, best episode 10 out of 10. Why have we not been getting more Helena dreams the entire time? The Helena dreams were good. It definitely were good in this episode. Seeing her on freaking Dreamfire like that, and just the foreshadowing of the dragon pit and all of that. Like, that was good. That was a really fun scene to see Helena having like full on dragon dream.
Again, super cool. And that was about the longest. It was probably the longest dragon dream we've had from her, right?
I think so.
So that was cool. And again, I'll go back to what I was saying on the pre-show and everything. Once you let go and just go along for the ride of the show, and I'm also coming to terms with, just because I don't like a character doesn't make the character bad. Doesn't make the episode bad. I don't like anything with Massaria involved.
The Massaria Rhaenyra stuff was just
that was it was a little.
And I don't mean like them hooking up or anything. I just their storyline in general. And I think Rhaenyra kind of calls it out perfectly in this episode, and that's kind of how I've read the Massaria Rhaenyra storyline this whole time. It's really just based around Massaria wanting to turn Rhaenyra against Daemon. That's really all it is at the end of the day. Yes, they have their kind of personal connections as well, but for the most part, that is kind of the Massaria kind of storyline in a nutshell. That's kind of how I've been seeing it. Her main goal is just to get Rhaenyra to turn against Daemon. At least Rhaenyra kind of calls her out on it tonight.
Yeah, and the madam or whatever that called Massaria out when they were in front of the Iron Throne. A whore, to the highborn, a whore will always be a whore, and I don't know if Massaria thought that she was elevating herself by hooking in Rhaenyra on a more personal level or whatever, like trying to seduce her and whatever. But the thing is, man, to me, that was like, she literally went back to her playbook as a whore. You be what you need to be for your client at the time. And it was funny though, because like there was that earlier scene where she had like reached out to touch Rhaenyra's wrist or something, and then like pulled back.
Yeah.
Because I think Rhaenyra is, as the queen, nobody touches the queen under any circumstances whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what is going on here? As she like walked around, as she like approached Rhaenyra when they were in the bedchamber or whatever, and got closer and closer. I was like, are they really going this far? So there was stuff that I was interested to see, how it played out. Those scenes like that, circumstances like that, situations like that are a coin toss. They could go, they could go either way depending on how the writer decided, but you don't know right up until the time. So, Massaria could have approached Rhaenyra, and then Rhaenyra could have been, what are you doing? How dare you? Or whatever, I am the queen. I am your queen, blah, blah, blah. But she said my queen. And then Rhaenyra, it's like, oh, okay.
Straight up calls her Rhaenyra, calls her by her name, which is another thing that's kind of like, very, you don't call the queen by her first name. You just don't.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're a worker, it's like calling the president Mr. President, even when
it's one thing for Daemon to do it, he's, they're husband and wife, but for Massaria to do it, it's like, you're the master of whispers at the end of the day. You don't call Rhaenyra.
Yeah, you're you're staff.
You're literally staff. You're literally an employee. But yeah, no, it was Sunfire Lives, of course, definitely one of the highlights of the episode, I think. And it was a lot, very interesting kind of coming into this episode where, a lot of us had a feeling Sunfire was going to come back, but, there's always that little kind of small percentage where the show might just kind of completely do its own thing, which is kind of what it's done in the past. This instance made it a little bit harder with the whole Joffrey thing in Game of Thrones, so they kind of had their hands tied a little bit. But I still think it was a good payoff, regardless of whether or not you kind of thought it was coming or not. It was a good payoff. It was fun. Again, it had that kind of Jurassic Park feeling of seeing Sunfire move through the woods. And I don't know if it was just me, for anybody else, but until like we could actually see the color of Sunfire, the head of Sunfire kind of poke through. At first, you can only kind of see something big moving through the jungle. For a second there, I thought, are they really going to Vagar us here? Like, are they really going to pull the rug out from under us? Is this going to be fucking Vagar? Because what was moving looked massive. So I thought that for a split second, and then you see the kind of the yellow and gold kind of poke through, and you instantly know, okay, this is Sunfire. Here it is. It's happening. But it was fun. I thought it was a good payoff. It was great to see Sunfire again.
Oh yeah, and
and Aegon, and again Aegon's speech too. Like, come on, fucking Tomlin Kearney again.
That was
MVP.
excellent. For the next week, our timelines are going to be filled with that one scene, the screenshot of Aegon laughing and damaged Aegon with his damaged face and Sunfire with his damaged face.
We'll take a look at all.
That one screenshot is going to be everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But it was so. I mean, that is about iconic for this, at least for this episode, if not this season. Him laughing maniacally. And then Sunfire with its damaged face, almost like a mirror image of each other, and it's poetic. It's something that it would have been remiss if they didn't put it in there. So I was totally on board for it, man. I might be a mark. I might be a mark just for the world, kind of, But yeah, it was like that's exactly it,
so fun. It's so maniacal. Like it's you're right. We're gonna see hilarious memes of this for the rest of the series. Like the laugh is fucking it's an unhinged laugh.
just when we thought that Aegon was getting back in the saddle as far as like being a maybe he'll be a good king, or maybe he's like coming into his own or whatever. Now he's laughing like a lunatic. So there's like, oh my God. Yeah. No, I would have to say it's satisfying, man. It was a pretty satisfying.
It was, yeah. It was fun. It was, and I love how they completely mirrored each other here. And that's what was interesting about this. Yes, Sunfire returned, but it almost seemed like Sunfire returned right at this moment because it felt Aegon was making this final stand. Again, the bond between Sunfire and Aegon is touched upon in season 2, or season 1 even. about being one of the stronger ones. Like we hear very early on when Jace is trying to master his connection to Vermax, you hear the Dragon Keeper say, you need to master your connection to Vermax like Aegon has with Sunfire. So at a very early age, it seemed that Aegon and Sunfire were very closely bonded. So I get the feeling that, it's no coincidence that Sunfire shows up at this very moment. Sunfire most definitely sensed what Aegon was doing, sensed that he was about to make this last stand, and came to save his fucking life. That is why Sunfire showed up right now. And we have context for this happening. The exact same thing happening with Daenerys in Meereen, in the fighting pit of Meereen. She's sitting there. She's definitely about to die, both on the show and in the book. And Drogon feels that, and he fucking comes and saves her life. So we have, plenty of context for this, both on the book and in the show. So I think that's what's happened here. Sunfire kind of felt Aegon was doing this last stand, rose up out of dormancy. And like you said, that's probably why Sunfire couldn't fly. Super weak still, can only barely walk, but is strong enough to save Aegon's life because it felt what Aegon was going to do.
Yeah. And in the book, Sunfire is like laid out, and they're bringing him food and stuff, feeding him, just barely keeping him alive. And then the next minute he's gone, and they didn't know where he went.
Yeah,
and,
just disappears.
They didn't play this one as Admiral Waka says, he was laying there in a coma for the longest time, doing nothing. But again, even in his diminished state, he's still got enough juice to shoot fire. Because I was wondering about that. I mean, like, how exactly weak will he be? So he's probably, he's definitely not at peak fitness, but he's still got enough to the funniest thing is right before this, when we were talking about Tessarion, even if your dragon is young, if your dragon is diminished, if your dragon is injured, it's still a dragon at the end of the day. So
it's a dragon.
When you go up against a non-dragon force, you're going to get, fields of fire in one way or another. And this is a perfect example of that. Now, where this goes, who the big loser in this one is Larys, because he cut and ran. And before Aegon's ascendancy,
Hey, that one thing I will say about Tyland, he was ride or die. Tyland was ride or die in this episode. And I didn't expect that from him. It would have been so easy for Tyland to just, skip on home back to Casterly Rock, where he, of course, is now the Lord of Casterly Rock now that his older brother is dead. Tyland wasn't the Lord of Casterly Rock. He was the younger twin. But his brother's dead now. He was literally Lord of Casterly Rock now. He could have just trotted on home. But he stayed. He stayed and was going to die with Aegon. I got to give Tyland a little bit of props for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't have been out of his character to do that. He could have said, "Hey, I'm going to secure." He would have dressed it up as something like, "I'm going to secure Casterly Rock for our next, endeavor or whatever." But he stuck by.
Yeah. Him. Oh yeah. Jason Lannister does have a son. I guess it depends on what the show is doing. We haven't really heard anything about the Lannister family on the show. If on the show he does have a son, it would go to him. But if he doesn't have a son on the show, it would be Tyland's next. But again, we don't really learn much about the Lannisters on the show. But again, either way, it just would have been so easy for him to kind of just skip home. And like you said, it wouldn't have been out of character for the kind of character that Tyland is. It would have been kind of fitting. But again, I got to give the guy props. Got to give him props. He was willing to stand there and die with Aegon.
Yep, and Larys, Larys dressed it up too. He dressed up his decision as the right thing or the sensible, and probably it was logical thing to do. I'm a cripple. I will make no difference. Yes, sure, but you're also choosing not to stand by, which basically kind of undid all the hooks that he had sunk into Aegon through that whole time. Mm-hmm. We'll see. And like I said, as soon as the fighting's over, Larys will slither out of the woodwork and try to show up again. We'll see how much sway he has or how far he's fallen, in Aegon's eyes. When
we last left them, Aegon was very much favoring Larys, for being honest with him. The first person to ever be honest with him. But then we have this. Are we seeing a complete reversal of fortune here, where now Tyland is going to be the favored one for sticking by Aegon? So it's a good point. How will Larry's be received when or if he even sees Aegon next, which he kind of has to, depending on where they're going with the story. But yeah, that'll be interesting. How much out of favor has he fallen? I was shocked by Orban and Ulf plot twist. I mean, I didn't think it was too, again, I just feel like it was kind of set up pretty kind of not super obviously, but with the way that Ulf has been treated, by Rhaenyra, or at least the way that he feels he's being treated by not being able to go to the pub, being thrown on lockdown, getting beat up by Daemon. You could kind of just tell that this is where Ulf was going, that he was very much not happy in the service of Rhaenyra. And here comes Ormond promising him, this, a castle, a lordship, this and that. Someone like Ulf is going to jump on that in a heartbeat. So I didn't think it was too much of a surprise. Just considering how they were, how Ulf was treated in the previous episode. I think that beating Daemon gave him was like the final straw for Ulf, where he was like, all right, I'm done with this.
I thought that, I felt that scene was pretty on the nose. I mean, it was required, but it was, it was a required scene, and it sets up some of the stuff that's upcoming. But it was also, it wasn't subtle at all. There was no subtlety. It was like straight up, and it was like, honey hole. Well, why not Driftmark? And all this other stuff.
Lord of the Tides. How does that sound? Fucking Ormond. Yeah, I don't know, man. Oh man, yeah, but I thought I agree with you. It did feel like it was very much expected.
But again, it put things into place, and it gave us a nice, beautiful, like final scene. That.
Yeah,
they'll never laugh at you again. No, they'll burn.
They'll burn.
Okay. So now the only questionable one of the dragon seeds is Hugh, and we didn't get to see Hugh.
Yeah. We didn't really get much. And I guess it'll be interesting to see what happens with Hugh. Now I wonder, with Ulf kind of switching sides here, essentially, will Ulf be the reason that maybe Ormond finds out that Hugh has family inside Templeton? And can Ormond use Hugh's family against him in some manner to also force him to, betray Rhaenyra? Because again, I don't think, someone like Hugh, is polar opposite from Ulf. I don't see, Hugh just betraying Rhaenyra. At least not this version of Hugh. This version of Hugh is vastly different from the book version of Hugh. This version of Hugh, I feel like there's going to have to be an ensuing catalyst that is going to force him in that direction. And I think him having a family is most likely why they probably gave him the family in the first place, for this exact reason.
Yeah, they spent a lot of screen time on the family to not have it to pay off. Yeah. And I was thinking, well, that would be it, because in the book, Hugh was always like, Hugh was the one that was like, why be a lord when you can be a king? That was always his character. We hadn't seen much of that.
Obsessed with the hammer prophecy. He thinks he's the hammer that's going to break House Targaryen. Little does he know it's Robert.
Yeah, but now if Ulf comes sliding through and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, I get to be, I'm going to be the Lord of Driftmark." What are you? What are you, Hugh? What are you still?
What are you, Hugh? Where's your little house on Visenya's Hill, Hugh? Yeah, he hasn't even got that yet. Shit. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So there might be little, a number of small pushes that are gonna, rather than one precipitous thing, maybe a series of small pushes, and maybe a big push as well that gets into Hugh's mind. If they're gonna go, I mean, all depending on what the writers have in mind for Hugh. Again, and this is a very different character than we got in the book, so they may still have some tricks up their sleeves, the writers, in regards to Hugh.
Yeah, no, they might. I think the whole family thing with Hugh just seems like it was very much tailor made for this potential reason that his family is ultimately going to get used for him. I feel like there's no coincidence that Ormond, took capture of a town where Hugh's family lives. That's not by coincidence when you're writing that out narratively. That's because you're setting that up for something later. I very much feel like his family's going to get used against him. I could be wrong, but I just feel like they, at the very least, they've set it up very well for that to be a real possibility, if nothing else. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with Hugh, because again, he's a vastly different character on the show than he is in the book. But
I was surprised Ormond, like, there's literally your enemy's dragon rider is sitting on the hill above your town watching you. I was surprised Ormond himself came out there to deliver the ale and whatnot and had that
in person.
And we're in a world where like Rhaenyra sneaks into the Sept, in King's Landing to talk to
Allison can fucking just traverse the fucking Harrenhal and back in fucking half an episode. Yeah.
So it was, but it was cool. Again, another necessary scene that they had to get, had to get in place. But yeah, I was on board with it. Oh, and now they're talking about about Adam, man.
Yeah. I definitely want to get to that. We'll talk Adam. We'll talk Adam.
Okay, yeah.
I feel bad for Adam. Yeah. I do feel bad for Adam. I felt bad for Adam in last week's episode. When we see Alan and Bela start to kiss, you could definitely tell that Adam very much had a thing for Bela, and his brother Alan fucking swooped right in. But yeah, definitely feel bad for Adam.
Oh man, yeah. I'm surprised with her too, and he was too, man. He was talking about wedding bells.
He's talking about coming and, rescuing her from whatever shit lord she has to get married off to and flying off together. So yeah, talking about his, about him becoming a Valerian in order in case, some highborn lady takes a fancy to him. Oh man, poor guy. Yeah. Poor Adam. Yeah, and of course, this was the episode where Rhaena gets discovered. Everything that happens with Rhaena and Sheepstealer and Gullet. Rhaenyra does eventually find out, and I guess we'll dive into this real quick. I'm sure we'll be jumping all over, but we got a very unexpected dragon battle in this episode. Very unexpected, but nonetheless, it was pretty fun. I got to say, it's anytime I get a chance to see Caraxes and Daemon in action together, that's always a scene that is that's going to be fun, even if it is a gratuitous dragon battle scene. But I thought this was interesting. We finally get to this point where Rhaenyra discovers there's something going on. Daemon definitely is lying about whatever this, whoever the real rider of Sheepstealer is, which again just leads to this massive dragon battle. I love how Rhaenyra kind of comes with Syrax, and Adam, of course, comes with Sea Smoke. And already on the ground, we have Sheepstealer and Caraxes. So you have just immediately this powder keg that is just waiting to kind of go off. You know that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of what's going to start it. What is going to be the thing that kicks this fight off? It was just way too tense. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was really fun. Sheepstealer did, everything, he could to protect Rhaena. You could see that even though they've only been bonded for a short amount of time, that they do have a pretty strong bond. Sheepstealer did not fucking back down. And again, Sheepstealer is a big dragon. Sheepstealer was the second biggest dragon there. If Caraxes wasn't there, if it was just Sheepstealer versus Sea Smoke and Syrax, I think Sheepstealer would have won.
Yeah, he got the jump on Syrax to begin with.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow. And I was again, that was another one of those scenes where once it was set up, I was like, okay, are they just going to be screaming at each other back and forth? And is this going to be a dragon fight, or is this going to be a dragon argument?
A dragon screaming match. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was super cool. And again, Daemon sends like almost like evens the odds or whatever, but sends sends everybody away just to set it up. Because I was thinking the way dragons are, and again, it's all into how much they control them and how obedient they are. But we've seen a lot of times when their blood is up, it's almost like a war horse or something. When their blood is up,
sometimes
may or
it's
may
hard to bring them
not.
down. Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
get them to stop attacking. And we saw that with Vagar at the end of season 1 when Vagar was chasing Luke on Arax. One little blast of fire from Arax into Vagar's face sent Vagar into full-on battle mode, to the point where it just completely devoured young Arax. So yeah, you're 100% right. There's a good degree of control to a certain extent, depending on how strong that bond is. But at the end of the day, this is something George always says: a dragon's first instinct is always going to be to attack another dragon. That's straight from George. A dragon's first instinct is always going to be to attack. So yeah, getting something like this to stop without at least one or multiple of the dragons getting severely injured was highly unlikely.
Right. And as WD-40's mentioning, it's like when a dog attacks, even police dogs. I mean, and those are about as trained as they get. But once once their teeth are in there, you're pretty. I mean, they're not letting go. They're not really listening to commands. It's very hit or miss. And these dragons are, a little more than a police dog or a pit bull. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not listening to their high Valerian commands.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They're listening to commands, but at the same time, they're also feeling their riders' emotions. And I think that was very much the case with Sheepstealer and Reyna here. I think that's what sent Sheepstealer into like overdrive, because Sheepstealer could sense the fear that Reyna was feeling in that moment. So that's what's interesting about these dragon battles. Yes, they'll respond to commands at times, but often than not, they'll go, just right off emotion based off what their dragon rider is feeling at the time. And you often see that kind of, that it mirrors each other. They mirror each other in their emotions. And I think that's what we saw with Aegon at the end of this episode as well, where Aegon is getting ready to make this last freaking stand. And I very much feel that's why Sunfire showed up when Sunfire did, because Sunfire could sense Aegon was making this last stand. And that's how strong the bond is with some of these riders and dragons. But yeah, it's always interesting to see. We haven't seen anything like this before. That's for sure. Even the Battle of Rook's Rest only had 3 dragons, with Vagar, Melees, and Sunfire. And Sunfire was taken out rather quick. This was, the big, not the big. I mean, I guess you could say this was maybe the biggest dragon battle we've ever gotten on the show. 4 dragons fighting at once. We have not seen that before. But it was fun. I thought this was really fun. And Caraxes is just so fucking badass.
Yeah. So now, do you think Daemon's going to be in trouble because he did send everybody away?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, you go away. Everybody else go away. I'll take care of this. And then promptly does not take care of this. Or, he definitely doesn't finish off Sheepstealer or doesn't make any effort once Sheepstealer's retreating.
Limps off.
Is he doing that for Reyna or is he doing that for... What's his motivation to let Sheepstealer scurry off, even though, they've secured Reyna and now she's going to be, under lock and key, but that still means Sheepstealer's out in the wild. Yeah.
No, I mean, I was wondering that too. I mean, because we see Daemon's final, and we'll see it here in a second. But we see Daemon's final command to Caraxes is finish him off, Caraxes. Like Daemon gave the order to kill, but yet, yeah, for some reason he kind of lets Sheepstealer wander off. And yeah, is that for Reyna's benefit? Is that just because Daemon, it was over at that point? Again, what's going on in Daemon's head in that moment? Why didn't he pursue Sheepstealer and just end it definitively?
Or is that just going to be another thing that Massaria uses against him, in the future?
Maybe. Could be.
Ryder! All this time, you knew.
Daemon runs right. Cyrax fires first, but Cyrax quickly gets mud by Sheepstealer. And that's the thing, Sheepstealer is, and again, you get a good sense in this episode of the proportion and the size sizes of these dragons. When they're flying by themselves and there's no other dragons in frame, sometimes it's hard to tell just how big or small some of these kinds of dragons are. It's easy to see how big Vagar is because Vagar is massive, just like Vermithor and Caraxes to a certain extent. But when you get to the dragons like Sea Smoke, Cyrax, Sheep Stealer, and those kind of mid-sized dragons, when you see them alone and just, with no other dragons in frame, it's kind of hard to tell the size differential. But here we got a really good sense. Like, Sheep Stealer is way bigger than both Sea Smoke and freaking Cyrax. And again, Sheep Stealer was wrecking fucking Cyrax, completely wrecking Cyrax, like, bad. So I do think Sheep Stealer would have won if Caraxes didn't show up.
Oh yeah, and we do get you see it sometimes.
Dragon. Way more ferocious being a wild dragon too.
Yeah, because he and that's I think that's a big part of it too. Is he did have to. His whole life was scrabbling to survive. So I mean, I guess maybe a trained one would have certain advantages, but an untrained one that grew up in that wild atmosphere. But yeah, the relative size is also a big thing, because some of the scenes, I think, especially with like Daemon or something, when you see him on Caraxes, he looks like a little Lego guy. He looks tiny.
Right, Caraxes is big, man.
But some of these are not. But it is funny. Daemon, like he booked it. Like everybody else is running around, and
he's running right to his mount.
Yeah, because that's that also
because that's that's the experience of Daemon. Because Daemon knows a dragon with a rider is way more effective in battle than a dragonless rider.
Right. And and when shit pops off, you would definitely rather be on your dragon rather than on the ground.
Exactly. Yeah. For sure.
Oh my goodness.
It's just a much more effective fighting force. Especially Daemon and Caraxes, who have been in tons, countless battles together. But yeah, again, Sheep Stealer. Again, Cyrax gets her licks in. I will at least say that. Cyrax does get a few good licks in. Right here, kind of gets a few chomps on the neck, gets a good cut into the gut with her claws. So I will not say Cyrax got dominated by any means. Cyrax got some good shots in.
Super cool scene though. I mean, I was satisfied. I was satisfied with this, and I am, and I'm that way with From. I want to see the monsters. I'll always go with the scenes with the monsters, and in House of the Dragon, I'll always go with the scenes with the dragons. Always more dragon and less house in House of the Dragon for me.
More dragon, less house. And again, it was a nice unexpected kind of dragon battle that I was very much not expecting. But it was fun. Cyrax got completely wrecked, and as Wild Rose is asking, is Sheep Stealer dead or just badly wounded? I do think Sheep Stealer is just badly wounded. I don't think Sheep Stealer will be dead. And I think I saw someone asking the same of Cyrax earlier. I think the same with Cyrax. Cyrax got injured pretty bad, but Cyrax will most likely live. I think all of these dragons will ultimately live to fight another day. But Sheep Stealer got wrecked the worst. Like Caraxes did a number on Sheep Stealer because it's and again I think it's funny to see these hierarchies of these dragons. You see Cyrax and Sea Smoke going at it with Sheep Stealer, and Sheep Stealer's size is just simply too much. Just Sheep Stealer is just bullying these two smaller dragons around, and then boom, Caraxes comes around and does the exact same thing to Sheep Stealer. You just see that hierarchy of these, there's levels to this, and Caraxes is up there at the top. Always fun to see the bloodworm in action.
Yeah, I think from as Sheep Stealer was escaping as it was getting away, it was having a little trouble flying, but I didn't see like catastrophic damage to the wing. So I definitely think Sheep Stealer Sheep Stealer is nowhere near as bad off as Sunfire.
Oh no, Sunfire got wrecked way worse for sure, definitely. It seemed like most of the damage Sheep Stealer received was to that cut that it got from Cyrax in the gut and the belly, and that damage that Caraxes did to Sheep Stealer's neck. Sheep Stealer's neck angle. But the wings seem to be okay. The wings didn't seem too bad. So yeah, Sheepstail was able to at least limp her off and fly away. There it is. There's the gut. The good old gut cut. And here comes Dirax, who's just way bigger than all of them. Oh, there we go, Bloodworm.
Go, Damon! Go!
Ah, man. And again, there were a few really, really good shots where you get to see just all 4 of these dragons in frame quite a few times. They just look really good. Again, I don't know how much of the budget went to this episode of the CGI, but definitely a lot of it seemed to probably come here, because this was actually very well choreographed and put together. To have 4 dragons in one fight and have it look not like just like a complete chaotic mess, and actually be able to follow the action and who's hurting who, that's a lot more difficult than it appears on paper. So I think they did a good job with this one for 4 dragons fighting.
Oh yeah. I mean, it could be the worst example for me is like Transformers, when there's too much choppy editing and everybody's tumbling around. I don't know who the good guy is, who the bad guy is, who I should be rooting for. This one, you're exactly right. They differentiated them enough and kept them out, even though there was 4 present. There weren't always 4 wrangling around till the point where you didn't know what was going on. So they did keep it separated enough that you're like, oh, okay. So like even me, and that just might be how I watch things or whatever. But my mind gets addled when there's too much rapid cuts and blurry camera and everything else. Now this was a very well executed scene, I have to say. And believe, I'm very critical of this show when it deserves it.
We've been critical when we feel constructive criticism is always okay, I think, in my opinion. When we point out the scenes that we don't like as much as the scenes that we do like.
Yeah, and you got to give credit where credit is due. And in this scene, they definitely
this was good. This was good. This was really good. Again, I had fun watching this. Like that was the first thing I could kind of think of when this episode ended. I was like, holy shit, like I had fun watching this episode for the most part. Yeah, I mean, there's always some scenes that are worse than others, but overall I had fun watching this episode. Not only a really cool dragon battle, but Sunfire coming back. Like, this was a pretty fun one to watch. Even if it was gratuitous, it was still fun. I had fun watching this one.
Was the scene immediately after this, was that one of the Massaria scenes? Because I remembered it was I mean, I know what they were doing. They're like trying to bring you back down or trying to settle you down after your adrenaline gets up watching the dragon
something
fight.
Big and hectic like this.
Yeah, they did something to really jerk the reins on the audience to calm us down.
The juxtaposition, for sure. Yeah.
But even then, I was like, I'm still processing what was going on. I was like, wow, okay, what are they telling us? So this is the direction they're going. Kind of gives us a little better idea of what they, at least what they want to do. Whether it's successful or not, still remains to be seen. But I dug it, man. I felt that way about this episode too. It had its high points, its low points. Some things I didn't like, but all in all, as the final credits rolled, I was just like, I didn't hate it. So it's
this was fun. This was fun. I had fun watching this one.
And they successfully put pieces in place too. I was afraid this was just going to be another put a few more pieces in place or move a few more pieces closer to Tumbleton for the ultimate whatever. But this was a little fan service.
Again, definitely a gratuitous dragon battle, but I mean, with the Corliss stuff and the Ulf the White stuff, they're slowly kind of continuing to set up this Tumbleton arc. But you're right. I heading into this episode, I was expecting it to be mostly set up, pretty much all set up for Tumbleton, because we had been hearing for so long that Tumbleton is going to happen in episode 8, like the actual battle. So I was very much expecting a ton of setup in this episode. So when we didn't really get a ton of setup, I was pleasantly surprised, and I think that's what made me enjoy the episode a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like you said, there were some scenes that there's always some scenes that just aren't very good, some storylines that aren't very good. But overall, yeah, this was a pretty fun episode.
Yep. And Ormond,
Yeah,
Ormond was straight up a villain. He was. I said, he was a straight up Bond villain. You said he's a mustache twirling villain. He was hamming it up.
Villain, yeah, very much a mustache twirling villain. He is for sure. And as Ty brings up, we a little bit of a troll for the Nettles fans, maybe. As Ty brings up, why did they troll the book readers with the Nettles line? That low key pissed me off. It was like someone owing you money and then flashed money in your. I feel you, Ty. It was very on the nose with the whole Nettles line thrown in there. I don't know. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Raina was just too overdramatic. I knew she was gonna be pissed, but not to the point of killing her. Yeah. Again, we had a feeling Raina was gonna kind of get figured out for a minute. Figured out in this episode, and she did.
And then Damon going to the Vale. that was an interesting scene, I thought.
I Damon going to the Vale was pretty interesting.
But all in all, this episode, I thought from beginning to end, and I know Ando is still playing the episode in Discord. I think he plays the episode when it goes live, and then again a replay immediately afterwards. So you get a chance to check it out twice. Again, big thanks to Ando. Otherwise, I wouldn't see it. I wouldn't have seen the episode, in time at least to do an analysis of it. Pretty decent episode altogether, and really things are really well set, I think, for the Battle of Tumbleton. Again, I cannot wait to see. We've seen the levers that Ormond used on Ulf. Now we have to see what lever he uses on Hugh. And again, I don't know how many people don't know what's going to happen, or but again, the situation on the ground at Tumbleton is completely different than the book too. So even as a book reader, I don't know what the writers have planned, how this is going to actually play out, because all the stuff that does happen in the books hinges on the Hightowers are not using Tumbleton as a home base. So, or as a fortress or whatever. They're not fighting defensively from there. They're not occupying the town at the time. So it'll be super, super cool. And now we've got Aegon back in play with Sunfire again. How fighting fit is Sunfire? I don't know, but man, that was such a rich scene with the maniacal laughter and the mutants getting cooked. We know the writers definitely favor the blacks, so the greens, even though they're having a little bit of a resurgence, this might be setting us up for a rug pull. I don't know how exactly they'll go ahead and play that out, but it'll certainly be interesting to see what the writers have planned for Tumbleton 1 and Tumbleton 2, because they're that's no spoiler, that's no big secret. And again, these are battles, stuff like the God's Eye, stuff like Rook's Rest. There are certain things that have to be. They have to be in the show. They're in the book, and no matter how much the writers want to veer from the book, there are certain set piece battles that have to be in place if you're going to do a show about the War of the Dragons, or whatever I forget the name, what they call it, the official whatever the official name. But that's there's certain things that they have to show. Tumbleton 1 and Tumbleton 2 have to be in there, and then a few other set piece battles and certain other things that certain characters and certain dragons have to be in a certain place at a certain time for it all to come to pass. It'd be super, super interesting to see what they've got. And I have to admit, man, I'm kind of stoked for episode 8. I want to see what they're going to do with the Battle of Tumbleton. As we're saying in the pre-show, I think most of the pieces are in place. A few more pieces will get in place. I'm expecting in the first, say, 10 to 15 minutes. I was very happy to see the juicy runtime on this episode. It was an hour and 17 minutes with all credits and everything included. So there was definitely meat on this bone, and I was happy to see that. Some of the other streaming networks and stuff are very locked into a 47-minute runtime, or they want to fit in their promotions, and sometimes even like the over-the-air networks want to fit commercials and stuff in. Thankfully, HBO doesn't have that. It doesn't have that scheduling kind of pressure, so they can have a nice long episode. And I didn't feel shortchanged, and I didn't feel like this episode was over long. I felt it was just right. They did touch and again, I'm always going to go back to the Rhaenyra scenes, the Alicent scenes, the Mysaria scenes. Those are ones that I can take or leave at any given time, just because I'm not super invested in that storyline. But again, even when I see characters that I don't really care for, doesn't mean mean the episode's bad, and they've fit in enough of the good stuff that you're not left with a sour taste by the end of the episode. So it was super cool. I mean, we got our dragon fight, we got our the return of Sunfire. Again, I'm always going to favor the scenes that focus on the dragons, and then we got a little maneuvering, and we also got to see Daron kind of pipe up, and I think anybody who's watched shows like this always know that, like when Ormond is talking to Corlys, and they're he's kind of like doing his James Bond villain, like, I'm going to do this, and there isn't anything you can do about it. This is the mastery of my plan. Ha ha ha. And then Daron like pipes up, and it's one of those situations. And we've seen this in shows probably 100 times where like the secondary guy, we've seen it with Rhaenyra and Daemon, where she says, don't call me out in front of people. Don't call me out in front of my council. Don't challenge me. I'm the queen, or I'm the boss. So we've seen that, and we saw that again. But again, that's just another little, and we saw that paid off almost immediately afterwards, when I think it was Daron was talking to Gwaine, and just saying, like, I'm the king, blah blah blah, and he's no longer fully under the thrall of Ormond, at least. I'll take a look into that. Yeah, Ormond is turning out to be a good, memorable villain. Tyozl says Ormond is turning out to be a good, memorable villain. They almost totally made up a story for him. It's true. Yeah, he actually way more fleshed out in this one. I did feel like he's always even in the previous episodes, he was almost becoming kind of a cartoon villain, like doing. They have to give him certain traits that make you not like him. I'm trying to think what was it. I always think back to like the last Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, you want to make sure that somebody doesn't like your villain, have him kill some innocent, like, furry animals with big eyes that are friendly. That's exactly, that's a guaranteed establishes you as the villain, no matter what else you do otherwise.
Yeah, it's hard to get that redemption arc after that. Once you establish yourself as killing puppies, yeah, your villain arc is all but assured.
Yeah,
good stuff. All right, let me see. All right, let's take a few more looks at this dragon battle, and then we'll continue on our discussion. Again, this was a fun episode. Praxis!
Really? Let's go.
And I like
Yeah,
that they
Sheep
didn't.
Stealer definitely takes some. Hmm.
Oh, I was gonna say I like that they didn't automatically go to just massive blasts of dragon fire right and left and everywhere.
Yeah, me too.
Caraxes'
Me too.
first attack was a slash with his claws, and I was like, wow, he kind of just like went right over the top of the of the
Claws
two.
and teeth.
I was like, interesting.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that was something that they actually made a point to do with melees during the Battle of Rook's Rest, like in the behind the scenes episode segment of that. They talk about the difference between how Rhaenys and Melee's fights on Dragonback and how Aegon and Aemon fight on their dragons. How Aemon and Aegon are just super quick to always say Dracarys. That's their first line of attack, is to breathe fire. But Melee's doesn't breathe fire first. Her first line of attack was to, use her agility, swoop under the dragon, come back, use her claws and stuff like that. And that was an interesting kind of difference in tactics that they wanted to showcase during the Battle of Rook's Rest. And for a little while there, it worked for Melee's, kind of using these other tactics instead of just going right to the freaking blast. And that's what this reminded me a little bit as well. Like, we didn't just see dragons just blasting each other left and right. We saw more of a tactical kind of ground fight. Even though it was a little sloppy at times, it was still kind of different from what you expect to see in a dragon battle.
Yeah, I'm there for it. I mean, these are amazing creatures with I almost look at them as in modern terms some kind of a weapon platform. They could be like tanks, they could be like attack helicopters, whatever. But they are weapon platforms, and to be smart, you have to use all the weapons at hand, and that's definitely going to be teeth and claws with these things.
Mm. Yeah, it's heavy. We're seeing some heavy teeth and claw action in this fight for sure. And yeah, it was pretty good.
Rhaena making the face she makes.
Right? Fucking worst face. You still get mangled here. Mangled. Just mangled. Sheep Stealer was really getting it. Like, bang. Really fucking bad.
And Daemon does get dismounted. He gets rolled off.
He's rolled right off his dragon, yeah. He does.
Again, it was super cool.
Definitely not smooth.
Yeah. When somebody has like like they want to show competence in on both sides or whatever, or make it seem like a more even fight, but nobody was so completely dominant. Even Daemon with Caraxes wasn't. I mean, he did end up winning, but I guess Sheep Stealer had already been in the mix for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Syrax landed a pretty good blow on Sheep Stealer with her claws. She kind of claws Sheep Stealer's gut or underbelly pretty good. So yeah, Sheep Stealer already took a little bit of damage by the time Caraxes comes around, and NC Smoke got a few licks in as well. But yeah, Sheep Stealer also got her licks in. Syrax is mangled as well, for sure. But yeah, maybe he just doesn't want to kill her dragon. He said it took him a long time to claim a dragon also. Yeah, and we do get that little bit of context from Daemon. How he grew up without a dragon as well, as a child, until he eventually claimed Caraxes. Daemon didn't have a dragon egg, or at the very least, if he did have one on the show, it didn't hatch. But yeah, that could be it. And he does say, it feels like he not only says, but he comes to the realization in this episode where he feels like he's been maybe neglectful as a father towards Rhaena. And we kind of see that in some of the earlier seasons where he's always kind of studying with Baela, always spending time with Baela when Rhaena's kind of off doing something else. So in this episode, he really kind of comes to realize that maybe he wasn't the best father to Rhaena and he was a little neglectful. So yeah, maybe there was a little bit of sympathy there, that he didn't really want to completely kill her dragon. It could have been that. Definitely could have been.
Yeah. And we got and I'm kind of digging Daemon this season so much better than in season 2. He's a little more consistent with what I expected and what he should be as a character. And now we've got an arc where he's not just purely the rogue, like maybe he's actually going to be a dad. Okay, I can dig it. And they're always playing it as him doing something against Rhaenyra's wishes, which of course Masari is always going to cash in on. How about we're going to go to Harrenhal?
Oh, we're definitely going to go to Harrenhal. There's
I'm
definitely a lot to talk about there. Let's
I
finish.
super dug the dragon stuff for sure.
Yeah.
A+ in this episode from me at least. As far as what we saw, and again, it was not completely predictable. It was
this came out of left field. This battle.
I was very much on the edge of my seat to see how this is going to pan out, especially when you have 4 dragons all in one place. And once the blood started flowing, it was like, what is, who's going to get, who's going to get out of here? Who isn't?
Who's going to get messed up the worst? Yeah.
And as unpredictable as the show's writing is, I wasn't certain that they weren't going to kill Sheepstealer. I was like, are they going to give Rain a Sheepstealer and then kill it? I don't know. Maybe.
I legit thought there for a second that Cyrax was just going to finish. Caraxes was just going to finish off Sheepstealer. I definitely thought that we were going to potentially lose that dragon there for a second. I wouldn't have been too surprised for sure. I thought Cyrax was done for. She got her licks in though, and Sheepstealer was injured, but he'll live. Yeah, again, it looks like as injured as Cyrax and Sheepstealer are, they'll live. They'll be all right. Sea Smoke and Caraxes seem to get away pretty scot-free. It didn't seem like they took much of any damage. But yeah, definitely they all got their licks in a little bit. They all got their licks in. And yeah, we got some really good shots. That was one thing that I actually enjoyed about this dragon battle. I could tell what was going on the entire time. I could tell who was fighting who and what was going on. And that was something that came under heavy criticism for Game of Thrones, at the end of Game of Thrones, when we saw Jon and Daenerys versus the Night King and Undead Viserion. There were shots and times where you just could not tell which dragon was which, who was fighting who. It's like, okay, who was who here? But yeah, I think on House of the Dragon, the battles, the dragons in general have just been portrayed way, way better than the original Game of Thrones show. But yeah, I never had one problem following this, I guess. It wasn't too chaotic where I couldn't tell exactly what was going on the whole time.
Yeah, and again, you dance with the one that brought you, and that's what people like is I mean, at least for me,
the dance of the dragons after all. Right, there should be dragon battles. Yeah.
And the name escaped me too when I was talking earlier. Yeah, it's called the Dance of the Dragons. Yeah, the overarching. But when I was mentioning like certain things have to take place, certain characters have to be in certain places, certain set pieces have to happen. I totally lost the name of the actual Dance of the Dragons. So like, come on, yeah,
it's literally the Dance of the Dragons. Yeah, it's literally what. And again, I think that's what is a little bit missed at times, where the House of the Dragon version of the Dance of the Dragons, at the core of the show, it seems to be not all, but a lot of it is centered around this, broken relationship between Rhaenyra and Alicent. That's a huge core theme of this version of the dance. Whereas in the book, it's nothing like that. These two characters are totally different. They hate each other. And Alicent is nowhere near as like a huge main character in the book as she is on the show. But and I think that's the difference. The book, the purpose of the Dance of the Dragons is the extinction of the dragons, the beginning of the end of House Targaryen. It's the cautionary tale of what happens when a house has too much power. But on the show, it's been tweaked a little bit, and again, that's fine. That's anytime you see an adaptation, it's not going to be 1-to-1. But I think that's why we don't have as much of an emphasis on more battles and dragon battles. We have skipped so many battles on this show, like tons of really important big battles too. Right. But yeah, I don't know. This was a fun one. Again, 4 dragons going at it at once. Nothing like a good old dragon showdown, right? It was fun. It was fun. It gave us a nice little appetizer as well. I guess it will be interesting to see what they do with Tumbleton now. Not only Tumbleton Part 1, but Tumbleton Part 2 as well. Like we should have some more dragon action coming. And again, we definitely get a little bit of that setup in this episode as well, with Ulf clearly switching sides. We have no idea what's going to happen with Hugh. But we do know Daemon and Caraxes, they're going to be showing up at Tumbleton. We do know Tessarion and Tessarion and Daron, excuse me, are there as well. And who knows who else Rhaenyra might send there, compared to, in the book. It seems like the show version of Tumbleton is going to be much different. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have some more dragon battles, guys.
Yeah, and Serious Queries is asking about how and why did Sunfire resurrect? And they did hint on that when it was laying there that Aegon kind of sensed that it wasn't that it wasn't dead, and of course Larys, being unschooled in the nature of dragons and whatnot, and that was entirely natural on Larys's part to make the assumption that it was just like wishful thinking or whatever, or that he was purely in denial that Sunfire was dead. Because it seemed to me that Larys was pretty much convinced that Sunfire was actually dead too.
Looked very dead.
But Serious Grace again says your body don't rot if your heart's beating. But yeah, I think it is one of those things where you do go into. I know you had a term for it. It was like a hibernation,
some sort of hibernation. Maybe the dragon was dormant in some way, kind of slowly healing. I mean, these are magical creatures too. At the end of the day, they're not just like regular animals. There is a good degree of these creatures being powered by magic, literal magic. Right. So I that's one way that they could explain it. That maybe the dragon was not dead, was just dormant. Might have appeared dead, but was in this state of deep hibernation or brumation, as some people have been referring to it as. But that's really the only explanation I can think of that makes sense. I mean, I don't think it's an actual resurrection. I don't think it's actually that. I think it was just more along the lines of the dragon was dormant. In a coma, maybe. Hibernation. Yeah, maybe.
And the thing about it, dragons do follow different rules. Coma. Yeah. So you don't really need to. I mean, they don't even need to have any outward signs that they are. I mean, they're doing if a dragon's in hibernation mode, in healing mode, they don't need to show any outward signs for the benefit of anybody else, even for us as the audience. They're just going to do. Dragon's going to do what dragon's going to do. And Serious Query says, yeah, it looked like he had a rotted face. I think that might have just been the damage. I mean, it might have been just enough flesh and whatnot was seared away and cut away. It looked rotted, similar to both Aegon and even Viserys when he had leprosy. But it may just be physical damage and that flesh is gone, so it may not necessarily be rotted, but just literally not gone.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I wish it was almost a daytime scene where you could see his face a little bit better. But
they gave us just enough.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, just enough. No, I think he was just in some sort of dormancy, some sort of dragon coma, if you will. And and again, I think the only reason why he woke up at this moment is because he felt Aegon. He felt what Aegon was getting ready to do. And the bond between dragon and dragon rider is still super unexplained, but one thing we do know, it can be very strong and they can very much feel each other's pain, fear, emotions, things like that. And again, we have this, like we talked about in the pre-show, we have that same example of Daenerys in the Dragon Pit of Meereen, both in the book and on the show, where she's getting ready to die. Like, she's 100% a goner, and Drogon senses that from Lord knows how far away, swoops in just in time and saves her. I think something similar happened here, where Sunfire was in some sort of dragon coma-like state and felt that Aegon was literally about to die and came right at the right moment to save him. I don't think those two... I don't think that's a coincidence that Sunfire shows up just as Aegon's about to, literally kind of not commit suicide, but definitely about to die.
Yeah. And I think the table is fully set for another, like a press on Aemond, which is going to bring Vhagar back into play.
Yeah.
I can't see Vhagar just randomly showing up like he was out checking the mail or something and coming back. I think he's going to come back with a dramatic re-entry to the show.
Yeah. I have to. Yeah, got to be some kind of dramatic re-entrance from Vagar onto the show. Yeah, since she's kind of disappeared. Yeah, it's yeah. Again, I think Sunfire sensed what Aegon was about to do, and that's why Sunfire shows up in this moment, wakes up from this dragon coma, if you will, and comes to his rider's aid.
And again, here we are again. I mean, they repeatedly reference how beautiful Sunfire was. Your dragon was so beautiful; it was named for the sun itself. All this stuff, and now here's what we got. And
well, what's interesting about Sunfire potentially having a little bit of a messed up face? It full on mirrors Aegon now. Like these two dragons, these two characters completely mirror each other. That's exactly what happened to Aegon. He got completely burnt, broken, and mangled, which is exactly what happened to Sunfire. And now they are both bearing the same scars. And I think that's just another kind of symbol of the bond that these two have. I think Aegon has a very strong bond with Sunfire. And again, we get that line in season 1 that kind of confirms that from a very young age, Aegon mastered his bond with his dragon. So I just think there's a very strong bond there. And I think that's why not only Sunfire sensed him, but now we're very much seeing these two characters parallel each other, with Sunfire being all mangled, just like Aegon's mangled now. So they very much are of there's the symmetry to their appearance now.
Yeah. And I think this was beautifully constructed. In the meta, when you're talking about constructing scenes and stuff, they would have been again, I'll say it, they would have been remiss if they didn't put these two side by side, the Damage King and the
That's
Damage
why we
Dragon.
see them side by side. Yeah.
And what? Oh, I lost his name again. I do this all the time. The guy that was Thailand. He hit the deck. He knew there was nothing for him in this fight.
Yeah. He at least had the sense to duck right there. Done. He's I'm not fucking standing in the way of this shit. Fuck this. But again, I gotta hand it to Thailand. Thailand completely stepped up in this episode, and he was ready to die at Aegon's side, no problem.
One dude with a sword out, and that was Thailand.
One dude with a fucking sword, bro. I gotta say, he earned some points for that. How can he not? Yeah, there we go. And then you see, is this Thailand with his sword in the air now? Oh no, that's Aegon. Excuse me. Yeah, Thailand's still ducking and covering, but Aegon is just loving this sword in the air, screaming, laughing his freaking ass off. So many House Mutin soldiers getting burnt to a crisp. This is Aegon at his best, Aegon at his finest. And it's funny that how just a few episodes ago we hear Larry's talking about all these opportunities that Aegon had, everything that he could become, the heights that he could have risen to. And then a few episodes later, we see a small glimpse of that potential is still alive somewhere. So again, I think this was just a great arc for Aegon's character as a whole. And yeah, I mean, even if we kind of knew Sunfire was kind of coming back with the way the episode was set up, they very much kind of set it up that way. It was still fun. It was still a very fun arc for Aegon.
And and much needed too for the Greens. We can't just have we've got a whole nother season coming after this season. We can't just have it all be a turkey shoot for the black team. And literally every single thing the Greens try gets foiled every single time. What's the fun in that? It's like watching a squash, like in pro wrestling. You give somebody a squash match, and like when you're trying to establish a dominant guy, you have them just beat somebody in 30 seconds and the thing's over. That's fine and cool, and it builds up the guy you want to build up, but it doesn't do anything for the people that are losing. So at least this is putting the Greens back on the table as a legitimate threat. Now they've got Sunfire back in play, which up to this point we'd basically been told that it's out of play. So it's nice. Is Lara still carrying the gold? Now that I don't know, because he seemed to cut and run quite abruptly. Once that decision was made. Plus the two guys behind him that bailed at the same time, leaving Thailand and Aegon together. I was questioning Thailand walking You know, I mean, they kind of had reconciled themselves even before this, you know, even before the Mutants literally just showed up. You know, when all the villagers were splitting, they were like, look, they kind of like reconciled themselves to dying in one way or another. And I thought it was nice that Aegon really spelled it out. He didn't leave it up to interpretation or anything like that. He flat out said, you know, I'm not going to die like a fox in a hole, or, you know, shot in the back with an arrow. He wanted to face it, but it was kind of nice to have the Mutants show up in force in the form that they did. And, you know, again, if you're trying to hide out, if you're trying to avoid being located or whatever, you're not going to build a campfire right out in the middle of the forest. That's OPSEC 101. So they weren't really, I mean, they were not doing anything to conceal their presence there. Yeah, but Fikes 95, yeah, that's as much as I got as far as where is that gold. I guess I don't really know enough about it to know where the gold went.
Yeah, where did Tylan stash the gold? That is still a problem. I mean, this is still a very, you know, King's Landing is still a very poor city. Rhaenyra is not ruling very well, and I love how in this episode, you know, the you know, who she appoints as Master of Coin, Lord Manderley. You know, he totally kind of like susses it out in this episode. It's almost like I've been set up to be a scapegoat. Like he totally has. Like that was literally the whole plan, and that was all Masari is doing. Like fucking Masari is so evil. Setting up this poor man just so the people of King's Landing will turn on him. His family's getting threatened now and shit. Like poor fucking guy.
I know. They put filth, or they put poop on his
family's fucking, you know, shit, smeared his house with shit.
I've been, you know, I know that though. You know, when you play computer games and stuff, and you're doing these grand strategy games, sometimes you run out of treasury, and you just have to wait a turn. You have to just click through a turn or two till some money comes back in. There, you know, and Manderley was saying, you know, even the little dribs and drabs of money that we get, it's spent as soon as we get it. So yeah, he was 100% the scapegoat, exactly by Masaria's plan, you know. But he kind of saw all the pressure. I wondered, that was one thing that didn't strike true to me, was like Rhaenyra again was getting just assailed with all the mundane problems of operating a kingdom, you know, conducting a war, operating a city, operating a realm, with all these logistics problems being the biggest thorn in her side, exactly when she, you know, I would imagine she would want to be conducting the war and going to battle and everything else, but she's got all these mundane problems weighing on her too. And of course the Hightowers had that as well when they were, you know, holding King's Landing. But you know, it was very interesting that everybody was coming to her, and then she turns to Orwyle and asks about Harrenhal. Shrug. She turns and asks, you know, Alan, you know, what about Corlys? Shrug. Nobody has any answers. Nobody. And then she tells that lady, go take Harrenhal yourself. Go back to where you're. And that lady was pleased as punch to hear that.
Oh yeah, gassed. Sabitha Frey, Lady Sabitha Frey. All she wants is Harrenhal. She's been giddy over trying to get Harrenhal. But I think she's going to be in for a rude awakening when she shows up there and Aemon's fucking camped out with Alice.
It was super. But then
you have another thing coming.
Yeah, there was that little whistle.
You
or
taking
that
that castle sound anytime soon, Lady Frey. Sorry.
Oh yeah, not with Alice there. But there was that little whistle. I mean, the whistle in Rhaenyra's mind, you know, of her kind of like losing it. You know, I always, it's either her stress or her madness manifesting or something. But they've done it a few times, and it's always when she's under the most extreme stress. The one thing I didn't like was immediately after this was Massaria making another move. I think she was haranguing Rhaenyra about Daemon again. And,
always.
And it was like, man, that was not the time or the place for it. So I did feel that was kind of out of place for Massario. Massario wasn't reading the room at that point. But
No,
again,
definitely not. Definitely not. And even going back to the Sunfire thing, as Ty says, I don't care how he came back, he just came back. And at the end of the day, you do have to kind of suspend your disbelief at the end of the day. Not even suspend your disbelief, but you kind of have to remember at the end of the day, this is a fantasy show too. Like, this is a fantasy show, and these are magical creatures. They're not just animals that breathe fire. There is a huge magical element to them, to their creation, and to what sustains them. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. You know, like, these aren't just normal creatures. This is a fantasy show with fantasy elements of dragons being in dragon comas and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind.
And in this show, that's probably the least of the writing crimes. Sometimes the
That's the
writers
least
say,
of the writing problems. Yeah, for sure.
it's like it happened because I said so, and that's it. End of story. Because I'm the dad. Because I'm the
Palpatine
parent.
returned. Somehow Palpatine's back. Oh shit. But yeah, no, I didn't mind it. Again, it's fantasy show, fantasy elements. You kind of have to suspect some stuff like this every once in a while. As long as they don't make too much of a habit of it. Definitely miss Vagar this season. I 100% agree with you, Ty. And I think, we're seeing now why we're not seeing so much Vagar this season, because they're allocating a lot of their CGI budget, it seems, to this battle we just saw, and whatever we're going to get with Tumbleton next week's episode as well, which we should see Silverwing, Vermithor, Tessarion, Caraxes, and who knows who else. So yeah, maybe we're seeing a little bit of a reason, if nothing else, why Vagar hasn't been as prominent this season. They had to kind of allocate a little bit more of that to some of these other dragons.
Yeah, I mean, up to this point, they hadn't really. I didn't feel like they'd splashed a whole ton of cash on VFX. So, if budgeting was the problem, you're definitely going to keep it for your finale. But I was glad to see it in this one. And you know what? They did exactly, what they should have done. And they always think that every episode is a golden droplet from their genius minds. So that they probably felt like they did enough in the episodes prior to this, but this is where it's going to pay off. We're going to see, we're going to see the dragons, and we're going to see more of them in Tumbleton, and even stuff with fire, like the CGI fire and everything else that we're going to see coming up in any battle that we're going to get. We're going to have dragons and fire and desolation and ruin and everything else. So it'll be interesting to see. But they're well on the way. I won't say this was a bad season or a lost season. It was kind of a hit and miss season for me. But they're doing what they need to redeem it. They know if they leave you with a banger of a season finale, when you go back and rewatch it,
better.
Yeah, you're going to take it in terms of the whole season, the season as a whole, and if they stick the landing, like some series have done and some series have not done, even within the seasons and sometimes within the shows themselves, if they don't stick the landing, they can go down in ignominy or whatever they say. They can go down in disgrace. But I mean, if they stick the landing with Tumbleton, this whole season will be, I won't say redeemed, but will be looked at in much more favorable light. Yeah, no,
season premieres and season finales are the two most important episodes, and even more so the finale. If you have a mediocre kind of season and you really stick the landing, it definitely by no means is going to make up for the season by any freaking means, not by a long shot. But at the very least, it will leave you feeling a little smidge better, if you have at least a nice ending that it left off on. Again, if they stick the landing on episode 8, if it's like a really, really, really good episode, ends the season on a really high note or a really just intriguing note, then yeah, I would definitely say that it would paint the whole season in a decent light. Because again, this season has not been bad. I don't think this has been a bad season by any means. Not like season 2 was anyway.
Right, that's going to be the thing. When in the run up to season 3, the overwhelming sentiment was, I hope we see less of what we saw in season 2 in season 3. Now, what they want us for season 4 is we want season 4 to be more of what we saw in season 3, and that would be, if they stick the landing, if they give us some nice battles here towards the end, that will be our narrative for the next year and a half or whatever it is that we wait for season 4 to come out. It'll be, wow, they fucking killed it on the second to last episode, and then the finale was awesome. We want to see more of that for season 4. That's the narrative that they want humming for for 18 months. Not we
completely botched the landing. We completely botched the ending of the season.
Yeah, I hope they fix Damon. I hope he's not doing another mushroom trip for a whole season. That was, that's what we heard in the run up to season 3.
That's what everybody was saying, and again, a lot of people had a lot of problems with season 2, myself included. It had some problems, but no, I think season 3 is definitely an improvement from season 2, without a doubt. And like you said, it's got its highs and its lows too. There definitely has good highs and some low lows at the same time. But no, I very much am enjoying season 3 more than I thought I was going to enjoy it, and definitely enjoying it more than I enjoyed season 2. There's been some good episodes. There's been some good episodes, some good moments, some good acting from some of these cast members. Like Tomlin Carney, for instance, has been phenomenal. He's been so freaking good. He's always kind of good. He's always one of the better actors on the show, I should say. But he really shined this season. Just about every little bit of screen time he had, I was glued to the screen watching every second of his scenes. He's just a good actor. He's just settled into this character of Aegon super freaking well. And it's just very fun to watch. And, the duo, the back and forth, the banter between him and Larry's definitely helped. Anytime you have two actors that just work really well with each other, it just enhances the scenes. And I think we got that with Tomlin Carney and Matthew Needlam, who plays Larry's. They just work very well off of each other. So yeah, Aegon was really good. Gwaine was really good this season. Like, there were some really good performances.
Absolutely. And we've seen that in a lot of the other shows we've covered too. Like, in From, for example, there are certain character pairings that just hit every time. And even like a less experienced actor with a more experienced actor, it tends to elevate both of them. And this one, like, as you say, Larius was completely consistent with his character. Maybe not with the book character, but the character that they had established for the show. He was making decisions, he was saying things, and even the way he was saying them, like we talked about a little earlier, even the way he delivered his lines was very, very consistent with Larys and the slimy kind of, Master of Whispers kind of guy. And of course, Aegon, he had a it was a tough road to hoe for him too. A weaker actor could have really botched it and really been, very obviously a weak point if this guy had not, nailed his role as, because he was a punk, when he was in King's Landing, when he was intact, he was just and he was set up that way. He was set up to be a little shit. Yeah, a little Joffrey, but a little just a punk and unlikable, and then brought low. I mean, from the highest peak to the lowest low, and having to eat shit.
Having to kiss fucking shit off someone's boots.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. And now he's getting it a little bit back. Now is it gonna whipsaw all the way back to him being a lunatic again?
No.
But that laugh had me wondering.
It was good. It was very maniacal. That maniacal kind of sinister laugh that he has there at the end. Aegon the burnt and Daenerys is the unburnt. Very much true. Polar opposites of each other. Happy that Aegon got his dragon back. He looked so relieved to see him. He did. Again, and Aegon was just kind of a broken man ever since Rook's Rest. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Just everything that happened to him, and the thought of losing his dragon as well. He was just completely broken. So this was a complete renewal for him. Tylan was the low-key MVP, says Ty. Awesome. I thought he and Tylan were trying to ditch Larry's at first. Maybe. I think I like the test that Aegon gave to Tyland in the previous episode. And it seemed like Tyland kind of failed that test by not telling Aegon the truth like Larry's did. But again, in this episode, it feels like there might be that reversal of fortune where Tyland stayed with him. Tyland was ride or freaking die. But I guess we'll see how loyal Tyland really is. Yeah, where is the gold is the big question. Where the frick is that gold?
Yeah. I think Tyland will come out of this all right. He seems to be, you know, by standing beside Aegon. I think he'll come out of the dance okay.
Maybe. We shall see. We shall see. When he was screaming, it's like he regained his title. It did feel that way, and that's what that whole kind of speech really felt like. It was Aegon kind of reminding not just everybody that he's saying this to. This was Aegon reminding himself who he was. Wait a minute, I'm Aegon Targaryen. I'm the king of the Seven Kingdoms. I was anointed by the Seven. It's not just a declaration to let everybody know around him that he's king. This is him telling himself. This is him trying to convince himself and remind himself, this is who I really am. So no, I thought the scene came across really good. And, you know, as maniacal as he looked, it was also calculated. This was Aegon finding himself again, remembering who he really is. Like you said, regaining his title. So no, I definitely agree with you. I think there was a huge aspect of that to Aegon's speech. Reclaiming his identity. I wonder where they're going with this Corlys storyline. It seems like a different direction. Yeah, I mean, the Corlys storyline, I guess we'll see what's going to be happening there. Corlys was very kind of stern in terms of not wanting to take any of Ormond's shit. Right off the bat, you can definitely tell Corlys does not like Ormond. And, you know, Corlys is the type of person where, even Ormond says it in this episode, he's very well traveled. You know, Corlys is one of the most knowledgeable, one of the smartest lords in the entire world, let alone Westeros. And you can just tell that as soon as Corlys laid eyes on Ormond, he clocked him for exactly who he really is, the type of person that he really is, this sniveling little weasel person that Ormond really is. You could just tell Corlys knew right away who this person was, and he didn't want to fuck with him.
Oh yeah, and I guess it was probably a bookend to the way he dealt with Ulf at the end. But Corlys, I mean, you know, because Ormond went on with the stuff like, you know, what do you see in her? You know, what do you know, why are you even with her? You know, you've got so much more going for you. Why are you loyal to her? And you know, I could see Corlys, you know, he was a prisoner. I mean, you know, you could feed me nice food and, you know, sweet talk me, you know, as much as you like, but at the end of the day, I'm still a prisoner here, and you know, I am a hostage. And it seems it was weird that that was Ormond's plan to take Corlys to keep the Valyrians out of King's Landing, because that's telling me that Ormond feels like he has a whole lot of time for this little plan to transpire. Yeah. And you know, even removing the Valyrians and fomenting more unrest in King's Landing, it's a good plan. It's a solid plan, but it's a plan that's going to still take time, you know, for civil unrest to bring your enemy down. You know, waiting for civil unrest to develop organically to bring your opponent down tells me that he thinks that he has a whole lot more time than he actually has. And he's got a lot more pressing issues. But you know, he did lay the, you're a well-traveled man, and you've got so much, what do you see in her, and why are you blah, blah, blah. And Corlys wasn't having it. Well, that same flattery, that same kind of cajoling worked like a charm on Ulf at the end. That was exactly what worked on Ulf. So it tells you, I guess it kind of reinforces for us in the audience, and it tells us what we already knew, that Corlys and Ulf are not cut from the same cloth in any kind of way.
Yeah, not in the slightest. And it is, you're 100% right. It's that polar mirror opposite of how these two types of characters operate, with how stern and kind of steadfast Corlys is when he's faced with a similar offer. But yeah, I mean, as Series Queries brings up, you never talk about another man's wife. I think Ormond very much erred bringing up Corlys's wife, thinking that was going to have any kind of positive effect on this outcome in the slightest. They're just, Corlys just clocked him. You could just tell Corlys could see exactly the kind of person that Ormond was. And, he wants nothing to do with him. Doesn't want his wine, doesn't want his food, doesn't even want to be in his presence, wants to get back to his cell as quick as he possibly fucking can. And I like it. I like Corlys, that side of Corlys.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it kind of also speaks to kind of a weakness of Ormond that he even tries that with Corlys. He must not know. Not only he doesn't know Corlys, but he must not know anything about Corlys and the kind of guy.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So
as high as Ormond has risen, in the Hightower hierarchy or whatever, and we saw that again when Gwaine, had the critical knowledge about the Baratheon. He has chestnut colored hair and he's a foot taller than this guy. There's practical ground level knowledge that Ormond is lacking, and basic reconnaissance or basic intelligence about the people, especially
are.
And when you're trying to do something as subtle as persuading somebody to turn coat,
you think you want to get a feel for their personality, who they are as a person.
Yeah, so it is kind of, maybe they're making that one of Ormond's character traits, is that he completely either misjudges or he's completely oblivious. He didn't see the need to know anything about Corlys when he tries to persuade him with gentle flattery.
It is the flat. I feel like he's almost just like too self-absorbed. And a little bit of this, that Ormond understands strategy in theory. He understands tactics in theory. We hear him talking earlier in the season about him admiring Miriam Martell, the Yellow Toad of Dorne, which is very famous, who is very famous for her incredibly good guerrilla warfare tactic strategy that she employed against Aegon the Conqueror, which led to Dorne never being captured by Aegon, where he was just steamrolling everybody else in his path. So Ormond, you definitely get that sense early on that he admires these kind of tactical thinking individuals, and I think he fancies himself that. But yeah, as Ram says here, it's almost like he kind of understands some of it in theory, but actually putting it into practice is something totally different than reading about it on paper. And that's where Ormond falters, and you can kind of see the inexperience that he really has in situations like this, where even though Corlys is the prisoner, Corlys has the upper hand on him the entire time during this whole scene. And that's what's fun about this. It's that completely, again, reversal of fortune, where Corlys is the one that's locked up, but Ormond's the real prisoner here in this conversation.
Yeah, yep. And his little whatever he thought he was going to achieve by having this dinner with Corlys, absolutely a failure. Complete. Completely rebuffed.
Epic fail. Just the epicest of fails. And I dare say a win for Corlys, which is, again, it's funny that the prisoner wins here. It was just a good scene. This was a good kind of little chess match, little mini chess match between these two characters. And here we see that Corlys is vastly outmatched. Here we see that Ormond is vastly outmatched when it comes to playing this game against someone like Corlys. And that's what's fun about Game of Thrones, or those earlier seasons of Game of Thrones. Like, remember the very beginning of season 2 when Tyrion first becomes Hand of the King, and he goes to each character, Varys, Grand Maester Pycelle, Littlefinger, and he tells each one of them a different story, a different house that he wants to marry Myrcella off to. That way, when it gets back to Cersei and Cersei tells him which house that Myrcella is planned to be sold off to, he knows exactly which one went to Cersei and fucking told her. That is a stroke of genius. That is the kind of political maneuvering that, I used to love about those earlier seasons of Game of Thrones. And I feel like we see, small aspects of that here and there on this season. Not so much as good as we saw in those earlier seasons of Game of Thrones, like those master strokes Tyrion would make, but little stuff like that here and there, like this little chess match between Corlys and Ormond, where Corlys just completely just obliterates him.
Yeah, they've only had a few in this series so far, and it's. I mean, again, we're going into the meta about how people write and stuff, but when you have dumb people writing smart characters, you know, it's kind of
there's missed opportunities, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But this was a good scene. A good little mini chess match between these two. Fun scene. But again, this was a decent episode. I'd say this was probably better than the last 2 or 3 episodes, anyway, at least. Yeah. One of the better episodes of the season by far, for sure.
Yep. And this was fairly early in the episode, so that was pretty. I was happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Yeah, we got Daemon flying to the Vale again. We knew this was going to kind of blow up in this episode, where this whole Rhaena thing was most likely going to come full circle, and it does. And I love how Daemon just arrives at the Vale, just storms in, doesn't no pleasantries, no asking for entry. I'm Daemon motherfucking Targaryen, and I'm getting entry to this fucking place.
He did. He blasted those doors open.
Yeah, right. I mean, the Vale might be able to be impregnable from an army on the ground, but very susceptible to dragons coming from the sky, as Visenya also proved during the conquest when she arrived at the Vale and took it very easily. But yeah, again, and then we get to Alicent finally arriving at Harrenhal. And I knew this dude was going to be a goner right away. As soon as you see this guy, as soon as you see Alicent advocating for this guy, you just instantly knew that Aemon was going to kill this poor slop. And he did. He takes him completely out. But I mean, this whole thing just started off super weird with, it beginning with that dream of just, again, very similar to kind of what we saw in season 2 with Daemon. When Daemon was in Harrenhal, he also did have that weird hallucination dream where he slept with his mom. I don't know what it is about Harrenhal and Targaryens and mommy issues, but it seems to be brought out in this place. But this was it started off so creepy, this scene. And I was just very relieved that it was a dream when we found out it was a dream sequence. Because this shit went this shit went out of pocket fucking fast.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you would call the writer's poorly disguised fetish.
This is bad, man. This is fucking bad.
And I bought into it too. I mean, I would have thought that
you thought it was real the first time you were seeing it.
I mean, it kind of struck me odd. I was like, well, how did Alicent get all the way? Because he was doing his little exercises or whatever, and collapsed. Indicating to us, it was pretty decent. I thought that they kind of divert your attention in one direction. He's doing his katas or whatever, and then falls down, showing that he's not fully. So in our mind, we're processing, okay, he's not fully healed because he collapses because he can't do all of his maneuvers. And then wham, here's Alicent in the background. And in the back of my mind, I was like, well, how did she get all the way inside with no, how did she get all the way inside to his room? But I wasn't processing that. I was still thinking about, okay, well, he's not fully healed, blah blah blah. And then they jumped right into the dialogue, and it was good. It was a good misdirection because I was, by the time my brain caught up, and by the time they were already deep in their dialogue between each other, talking about the road was long and I need a bed or all this other stuff. So yeah. I was completely on board for it. I thought it was real.
Mm. Yeah, it was just. It did come across as like real at first, but. But then when it started to kind of go like completely left field and completely out of pocket, like when they when they started actually like going there, I'm like, okay, this is fake. This is 100% fake. But at first, like when it's just the kiss, seeing as they have kissed in the past, unfortunately, fucking creepy. But it wasn't until we started to see it go like really, really left field where I was like, okay, this is definitely a fucking dream.
Now was that Harrenhal doing that, or was that Alice doing it? Was she cosplaying as his mom? Yeah,
and that's the question with Daemon in season 2 as well. That's never quite really fully answered. They leave it very ambiguous as to whether this is just the forces of Harrenhal, the forces of all this, tragedy that happened here, the old gods. I mean, we're super close to the God's Eye. This is a hugely powerful place for the old gods and the children of the forest and the green men, as we've seen. Yeah, what exactly is causing this? Is it Alice? Is it Harrenhal? It's they leave it deliberately ambiguous, it seems. I think it's more the place than Alice.
Okay. But it was Alice on top of him, right? When
yeah, it was Alice in terms of like who he was really with when that was happening. Yeah. He sees that it's really Alice. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So so you're thinking there's a possibility that she may not have known that he wasn't trying to bang her. He thought he actually thought it was Harrenhal putting his mom in there. Oh,
maybe. I mean, or it could have been her. That's another thing. It could have been her as well. I mean, seeing her reaction made it seem like it was more Harrenhal. But it could have been her, and that's the kind of ambiguity of these Harrenhal scenes. It seems like they're deliberately leaving it ambiguous, where it's not definitive who's doing this to Aemon. Is it Alice? Is it Alice or Harrenhal?
Interesting. And I guess it gives me food for thought. It gives the audience. Okay, that's a good point. Oh yeah, that's a good catch.
Freaking gods are controlling her. I think it's the place for the most part. Again, this is a huge, big activity for the old gods, the children of the forest, and again, even Hallis Rivers talks about all of the people that have died building this place. When you have that many people dying on that, it stains the land in stories like this. And then you have everybody that died there during Aegon's conquest when he just obliterated the place with Balerion. So yeah, you definitely get the sense that this whole curse of Harrenhal, that there's something to it, that this place is cursed a little bit.
So both of them got kind of blue-balled. Alice didn't get what she wanted, and Daemon didn't get what he wanted. And then immediately after he leaves, and then the real Alicent is there. I was like, oh, boom. Man.
And that's what makes it so fucking weird. And I think that's what put Aemon on, super kind of like not high alert, but at least a little bit weary, where you literally just had this dream. And then boom, Alicent shows up in almost the exact same manner and says the exact same thing to him as she said to him in the dream. You're all I have left now. And as soon as she says that to him, he takes like a step back. He's like, oh, fuck, what's going on here? And he just walks away. I'd be freaked out too. But yeah, it was...
definitely not in the mood. Definitely not in the mood to deal with Alicent after that.
Yeah, definitely not. But yeah, I guess we'll see where this is going to continue to go. How much further are they going to go with this? Again, we saw towards the end of the episode. At the very least, Aemon had his guard down long enough, or at least trusted Alicent enough to drink the spiced wine that she presents to him towards the end of the episode. And we see that this poisons him. Alicent actually poisoned Aemon. I didn't think she was going to have it in her. I didn't think she would have the balls to do it. But she did. Alicent actually poisons Aemon. And you see Alice Rivers' reaction, like right away. She's like, idiot. Like she just knew something like this was going to happen. But Alice Rivers didn't seem very worried about him being poisoned in that manner. So that is very much an indication that she's going to be able to save him rather simply.
Yeah. There was no concern. There was no panic or anything. Yeah. It was just like, and people in the chat have mentioned it as well, that it was almost played for comedy, but it also told us that whatever was happening, whatever poison it was well within, Alice's domain, her area of control. So she was not the slightest bit worried about some simple poisoning. I did actually like the fact that it was, because the whole scene preceding Alicent getting the berries was her trying to, couldn't get the sword off, and then ended up getting the dagger. And I was like, oh, so she's going to try to stab Daemon, right? And then she sees the berries, and then the idea, and that's so much more consistent. That's consistent with the character. It's a more sneaky and like even a worse betrayal, to feed somebody a poison.
Yeah, and there is that theme within Game of Thrones that we hear said very early on. Anytime someone is poisoned, they always talk about poison being a weapon for for women and eunuchs. Those are the two people that use poison the most. So no, I think her poisoning Aemon is much more believable than her stabbing him with a fucking dagger. Like that's
Absolutely.
great. Like I can't picture Alicent just stabbing Aemon with a dagger. But yeah, poison, it's believable. It's believable for the character.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was not as believable for him being the most gullible person ever. I brought this delicious spiced wine from far away. You should drink it immediately. Yeah, okay. Gulp.
Yeah, the cup just happens to be poured before you get in here too. Come on, how dumb do you have to be? And that's why it's kind of funny when Alice kind of says that, like, "Oh, stupid," or whatever she says.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of warming up to Alice.
She was good. She was good in this episode. Yeah. There we go.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Idiot. She's not concerned in the slightest, though. Like she doesn't look worried, not even a little bit. But again, it's almost like she knew this was going to happen, and she kind of did. She was telling Aemon right when Alicent arrived, she means to do you harm. There's a black cloud hanging around her. She means to do you ill, and she was right. She was right. So yeah, I guess we'll see what's going to happen now. I mean, I have to imagine Aemon is going to survive. She's very much not concerned here. She'll give him some kind of antidote, maybe some kind of magic. Who knows? Because in the book, Alice Rivers, she very much does have supernatural abilities. She has similar abilities to Melisandre in some cases, where Melisandre can see visions of the future in the flames. Where Alice Rivers takes it even one step further, where in the book, she can see visions not only in the flames, but also in pools of water and storm clouds, too. Like, Alice's visions are more advanced than Melisandre's, I would say, in the book. So she does have supernatural abilities. So yeah, very, very easy, very much within her purview for her to be able to save Aemon here, I would say.
Yeah. And this is also just going to sink her hooks deeper into Aemon. She's going to have to resist the temptation to say, "I told you so," but she's going to let him know, "I told you so."
Yeah, I told you so. I told you. Yeah, she probably already had the potion made up, ready to go. I mean, it looks like she's got something in her hand, like she was already kind of anticipating this. She didn't seem surprised by it in the slightest. So yeah, she was ready. She was ready. Alice doesn't care for Aemon. It's pretty clear she just wants to be the Lady of Harrenhal. And yeah, I think there is, I mean, it's hard to tell, but I do kind of tend to lean a little bit that way myself, where I don't know how much Alice really, really cares about Aemon, or whether or not she feels that she can just use him to get what she wants, which is, Harrenhal, and not just Harrenhal, but power. We hear her say that, my appetites, she's always talking about how big her appetites are. And that she's not going to be satisfied with, what she has. So I wouldn't be surprised if she wants even more than Harrenhal, because Alice Rivers has a very interesting kind of solo storyline later on, like way later on. And I wonder if they're almost maybe trying to slowly set that up.
Yeah, that was so funny. I like the scenes where, obviously Alice was like, Alicent needs to go. She needs to be on her way. And he's like, no, we're setting up a mother-in-law, a casita in the back for a mother-in-law quarters. And Alice was not at all happy to have Alicent as the permanent guest. Although now she might be a permanent prisoner.
Well, yeah, I guess that's a good question. Is Alicent gonna make it out? I mean, it looks like Alicent made it outside the gates of Harrenhal. is she going to get caught? Will Aemon be able to catch up with her, or will Alicent be able to make it back to King's Landing, unscathed? I don't know. I haven't seen the trailer for episode 8 yet. We'll take a look at it here in a little bit.
Okay.
But I have to imagine she'll probably make it back to King's Landing.
That would be. I mean, if it was a perilous journey to Harrenhal with an escort, just
True.
Alicent by herself making it all the way back, I think she's got. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets caught 100 yards from the gate.
That'd be more believable. Yeah. That'd definitely be more believable. With the way people like to teleport in this freaking show from one freaking side of the map to the other in the span of like 10 minutes,
Right.
I tend to not know what's possible at this point.
Yeah.
Again, at the beginning of this episode, we see John Roxton is already in Tumbleton with Corlys. Like, he's not only did he already cross there, but he already crossed all the way back, all over the Crown Lands, and brought Corlys back to fucking Tumbleton. Like, it's
and back on duty too. He wasn't even worn out or nothing.
Varys had a teleportation device there in those final few seasons where 1 minute he's in Essos, 1 minute he's back in Westeros. Like, he was just fucking fast traveling all over the map. And that's what this kind of felt like with John Roxton and Corlys, kind of just jumping all over the map. But again, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief every once in a while with the way that kind of characters travel in this show. But it was funny. It was definitely funny.
Yeah, if they play it straight, then probably, I mean, whatever amount of time that even if it's not, even if Aemon's poisoning isn't of concern to Alice, she still will have to take care of him for X amount of time. And all of that time is going to be the amount of time that Alicent has as a head start. But I still don't anticipate it, being too much of a head start. But we'll see. Again, we'll see how the writers write it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is ultimately the question. How will they write it?
How much time
I don't know.
transpired? Yeah, from the scene that we ended with, which was the Ulf scene, to the beginning of the Battle of Tumbleton. Yeah, we'll see how much time jump they fit in there. So who knows?
Or just even the beginning of episode 8. Like is there going to be some sort of couple hours time jump or even a day time jump? Yeah, that'll give us a much better answer as to. I think her getting caught is much more realistic, but for some reason I have a feeling she'll make it. But then again, she might not. Maybe she'll get snatched up.
Now, why would Alicent hurry back to King's Landing though? Also, I mean,
if she thinks Aemon's dead, yeah. Well, I think that's why it could set up something not interesting, but I think maybe this is where they could potentially going with it, where Alicent does make it back to King's Landing, and she tells Rhaenyra, "I did it. Aemon's dead." And then boom, one day Aemon shows up on Vhagar, and it's like, what the fuck? I thought he was dead. So I think they could be maybe setting something like that up.
Okay, I think you may be exactly right. I think that makes a lot of logical sense. We'll just have to swallow Alicent fast traveling back to King's Landing.
Fast traveling all over the fucking map like John Roxton, yeah. But it would be much more believable if she got caught. I mean, again, that's if Aemon goes after her. Is Aemon going to be in any condition to go after her? Alice seemed confident she'd be able to save it. But is he going to be up, sprite as rain? He was already in bad condition and already healing. He might not even be in a condition to go after her too. So that might play in Alicent's favor. Yeah. But yeah, who knows? I get the feeling that she's going to go back to King's Landing, tell Rhaenyra Aemon's dead, and then Aemon's going to fucking show up, and that's going to be a whole fucking other can of worms.
Dramatically, it would make a whole lot of sense. I mean, you have to have. And we already talked about it. We can't, Vhagar ain't just gonna slink back onto the scene. He's gonna have an entrance when she reappears. Vhagar.
Yeah, I have to imagine Vhagar is gonna have a nice entrance when she does show back up. Yeah, I feel like with her being absent for this freaking long, yeah, you gotta give Nanny Vhagar a good entrance. She's Nanny Vhagar after all. Fucking, she's the oldest dragon in the world. But yeah, I guess that'll be interesting to see when and where will Vhagar show back up again, because the dragon has to show back up again. It's really just a matter of time and when or how the dragon shows up, but it will show up again.
Yeah. Serious Queries is pounding us for the dream sequence. The Helena dream sequence.
Okay, yeah. Let's dive into the Helena dream sequence. That was actually a really, really good scene. That was towards the beginning, right? I believe. Yes, towards the beginning, right at the beginning. Now, this was fun. I mean, we got to see some pretty interesting things here with this little dragon dream of Helena's. And like we were saying earlier, this definitely was, as far as I can remember, this is the best look that we've ever seen of a Targaryen actually having a dragon dream, as opposed to just hearing about the dragon dreams and hearing about the things that they see. Here we actually get to see Helena's POV. Like, we're actually put in the shoes of Helena as the audience, and we're going on this journey of watching and seeing this dragon dream firsthand. And I thought it was well. I thought it was shot well. You could tell right away that it was a dragon dream just with that kind of color filter that they seem to have on the screen, like that hazy filter that shows tend to use every once in a while to indicate that this is a dream. I feel like it was very deliberate, and it worked as far as for me, it worked anyway. But no, this was fun. This full-on look at a just dragon dream from Helena. Seeing Dreamfire, her on Dreamfire, the foreshadowing of the big event that is kind of setting up. This was cool.
Yeah, and I like that they did it. They did it with the haze, where there was no doubt that it was a dream. So it wasn't like they're trying to deceive us or trying to rug pull us when it doesn't come. But yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, please continue.
No. I mean, we have to pause it every once in a while anyway. I can't play too much of it at once, or I'll get struck. HBO is not friendly. No, HBO is nowhere near as friendly as MGM is when it comes to not copywriting channels.
Right.
But
this is fully transformative. Yeah, transformative in commentary and educational.
Yeah, but still, yeah, HBO they don't give a fuck. MGM is really good though. Like, again, I can play full trailers of MGM shows. I can play like 1 to 2 2-minute long clips, and very rarely do they ever levy a copyright claim. MGM's really good with content creators. I gotta say that. But HBO is not. HBO is the fucking polar opposite. But yeah, let's see some more of this. And that's a great shot right there. The doors opening, the light kind of just pouring in. That was the sense, that if you weren't sure before, I think when you see this scene, that's when you're like 100% sure that, okay, this is definitely a dream. If I was a little unsure at first, now I know this is 100% a dream. And it was just,
everything she's wanted to. I mean, it's a dream because this is everything that Helena has been wanting. She's been cooped up for so long. She just wants the doors wide, huge doors wide open, and the
beautiful light pouring in, beautiful horse, everything she's wanted. And I think it's very interesting to learn that, part of what she's seemingly wanted is to actually be a dragon rider, to actually have had that kind of connection that her character has with Dreamfire in the book. So yeah, this was good. All right, let's see a little more.
Helena.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good old Rhaenyra. Good old Rhaenyra bursts in and breaks up the dragon dream. But yeah, again, it's a good start. Again, we see really good looks at how these dragon dreams unfold. And that's one thing I've always wondered. If you are a dragon dreamer, what do these dreams actually look like? Is it just like images and things that you're seeing, or just information that's being downloaded into you? Or is it something that you're actually experiencing? And that's what was pretty interesting here, was that the dragon dream is something that she's literally experiencing, something that she's walking into. And that makes it so much more akin to warging, to what Bran does when he's literally visiting these places. He's not just seeing it from afar. He's actually right there up in it, right, when we as the audience get to see that. That's kind of how this kind of how the Helena's vision kind of gave off that same vibe. where it just felt like she's right there in the thick of it. It's not something she's seeing; it's something she's experiencing.
Yeah. The super real, super vivid dreams. Even regular people have, where it's so real that you could, you don't ever want to come out of it. And then what's her second one? I really want to see what her second
Yeah,
one.
the second one is the Dreamfire one. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for right now. I don't remember the exact timestamp, but we shall find it. We shall find it. Yeah, the second one is even better. Fucking Dreamfire. And Dreamfire looks way different than we saw Dreamfire in season 1. That one little quick snippet scene of Dreamfire that we see down in the basement when young Aemon goes to try and claim her looked way different than we see Dreamfire looking here. This Dreamfire looked actually pretty badass.
There was a lot in this episode. Yeah, like as you're scanning through, man, they packed a lot in, and it felt good. It was like a 1 hour 17 runtime, but they packed a lot of stuff in this one. And again, I mean, this episode, and if they really stick it with Tumbleton, that's going to wash away all the sins of the previous episodes, I think. So
again, sticking a really good landing, it really can. It can improve a season overall for sure. But yeah, here we have Helena with the second dragon troop. Ah, man, that was good. That was fucking good. We've wanted to see. I know the audience has really wanted to see Dreamfire for a very long time. That's in terms of a lot of the comments that we get of dragons that people want to see the most. Dreamfire always gets a ton of freaking votes. So here we get to see it. Here we get to see full-on Dreamfire in all of her glory. And again, Dreamfire is actually one of the more formidable and badass dragons in the book. She's one of the older dragons. She's around close to 100 years old, very seasoned and very big. So this was really interesting to see. And here we see a bunch of people charging towards Dreamfire and Helena as she gets ready to roast all of them. And again, anyone who is familiar with the books, you know that this is a very, very specific scene that we're going to get in season 4.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just say it. This makes me happy to see Helena be something other than a potato, because she's a potato in every fucking scene that she's ever been in. Just kind of like, kind of loopy, and of course, oh, she's a dreamer. Yeah, okay, whatever. No, every once in a while you want to see somebody do something badass, and a little Dracarys scene will go a long way for that.
It will. You're right. I mean, a little Dracarys every now and then didn't hurt nobody. I mean, it hurts the people that it's burning the fuck out of, maybe. But it definitely doesn't hurt the audience. None. That's for sure. But no, this was cool. This was really, and it was cool to see Helena in this light. This is the Helena that we know from the book. For those who haven't read the book, in the Fire and Blood novel, Helena and Dreamfire are inseparable. Helena probably spends more time on her dragon than any of her siblings, and I believe they even state that in the book, that she spends more time riding Dreamfire than any of her brothers. They have such a close and strong bond in the book, and this is very much more akin to that Helena, the Helena that we hopefully will actually get, even if we're only going to see her like this in the very end. This is very much book accurate Helena, for sure.
And I don't mind it. And they've also given us enough dream sequences that there's ambiguity as to how much of what she's seeing is a dream and how much is what she's seeing is a prophecy. And some will come to pass and some won't. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. Is this a dragon dream that she's seeing, a prophetic dream of the future, or is this just a regular dream that she's having? Again, with her dragon dreams being mostly prophetic in nature, I do get the feeling that this is something that she is seeing of the future. Now, will it be exactly like this? Maybe not. Maybe when we get to this scene, maybe we'll get this Dreamfire scene and Helena won't even be there. It'll just be Dreamfire, or it'll be something a little bit different. But I do get the feeling it is kind of foreshadowing that very important scene that we'll get in season 4. But yeah, this was good. This was a fun scene. Seeing a full-on dragon dream in the kind of first-hand POV. Awesome stuff. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Let us know, what did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? Not going to lie, I just want Vagar to eat Allison. Oh, shit. I mean, it would make for a scene, right? It would definitely make for a scene. Wouldn't Alice just be producing a bastard with no claim to anything? I mean, technically, in a sense, yeah. I mean, she's not married to Aemond. It's you have to be married in order for your children to be legitimate in the world of Westeros. So no, you have a very valid point, MF. If Alice were to have Aemond's child, technically, yeah, it would be a bastard.
I mean, maybe she's just thinking that they'll worry about the legitimization.
We'll worry about that later, yeah. We'll sort out that little detail later. I mean, a little bastard princeling never stopped anybody else, that's for sure. I mean, hell, look at fucking Rhaenyra. All of her kids were technically bastards.
Oh, yeah. And she's got eggs. She could put them in the cradle.
Yeah. Yeah, true. They got all these dragon eggs now for all of these new line of unsullied kings that Aemon wants to bring forth. Very true. Very, very true. Yeah, who's going to marry them? Yeah, again, I don't think anyone can, legally marry them. I mean, they could, but at this point, Aemon is actually betrothed to one of the daughters of Boris Baratheon. That's actually what we see at the end of season 1 when Luke goes to Storm's End to treat with House Baratheon on Rhaenyra's behalf. He gets there, and boom, Aemon is already there, and Aemon has already offered his hand to any one of Lord Boris's daughters. So technically, Aemon's already spoken for. Yeah, the children would be bastards for sure. But yeah, Dreamfire was beautiful. Absolutely, 100% agree. I think Dreamfire looked pretty good. Again, sometimes I'm not the biggest fan of this many horns on dragons. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Here, it looks pretty decent. But, sometimes having too many horns just makes the dragon look a little bit weird. Just for me personally, I know everybody has their own preferences. But speaking for myself, too many horns can ruin the design.
I think just for this little tidbit, though,
it works.
Yeah, it's cool.
It works. It does. It definitely works. And it was fun. It was a fun scene. It was a really good scene. And let's take another look at it in fast motion, shall we? Let's see. Very much book accurate Helena right there. She got her dragon rider. Bring it on. Bring it on. Oh, man. I think we're going to be in for a pretty interesting episode when the whole storming of the dragon pit scene actually comes around. Man, that's going to be nuts.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I'm not going to be the first guy in line to do that either. If I'm one of the torch and pitchfork people.
No, absolutely not. I am not going to be doing that.
Calling sick that day.
Yeah,
storming the dragon pit. Oh man, I gotta hang. I got an intro in tow. Yeah, I'm moving.
Traveling to the fucking wall to take the black that day. Sorry, I forgot. I'm joining the Night's Watch that day. Sorry, you're on your own. But we have series queries for $5. Thank you so much, series queries for the 5. Very much appreciate that, my friend. Thanks for the stream, Jeremy. Oh no, well, thank you guys for hanging out with us and giving us your thoughts and your opinions and and your predictions and stuff as well. I love diving into these episodes and discussing it with you guys. So no, I should be thanking y'all, and I am. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for the 5 as well. Very much appreciate it. Kind of reminds me of the Queen That Never Was in the church on Aegon's anointment. A little bit, a little bit. We see Aegon if you're referring to Aegon at the end of this episode, or at least for me, when I saw Aegon at the end of this episode, and you see him just reveling in, Sunfire being back and just roasting all these people, it definitely harkened back to that scene at the end of season 1 when Aegon was being coronated during Aegon's coronation. And he's standing up there in the sept, and he's, at first he's very hesitant. And that's one thing I love about that scene at the end of season 1. Aegon really did not want to be king at first. Like, this is not something you want to hell. He even tried to run away from it. And we see him walking down the aisle in that scene, and you see this look of just like dread on his face. And that lasts all the way up until he climbs the steps, and then he's finally crowned and handed Blackfire. And then he turns around and he sees the crowd cheering for him. And all of a sudden you see something kind of switch in Aegon, where for the first time he looks at the upside of potentially being king and the adoration of all of these people screaming your name. And you see him standing there with the conqueror's crown, the black fire in hand, and all of a sudden he just starts getting super into it, where he's raising black fire over his head, and all of a sudden he's super freaking happy. It reminded me a little bit of that, where we see Aegon just kind of like embracing who he was at the end of season 1, embracing being King Aegon. And in this episode, it was him kind of reclaiming that, embracing him being Aegon II again.
Yep. And then, of course, Maylee's bursting through the floor and torching.
And Maylee's bursting through the floor. Yep. Yep. That was such a nonsensical scene. Oh my God. I remember being so, not ruined, but I think it diminished a really, really, really good scene, having Maylee's just burst through the floor like that. And, for one, that's not something Rhaenys and Maylee's ever would have done. They would have just killed countless common folk like that just to escape. That's not something they ever would have done. But it was just a little bit of a blemish on what was otherwise a really, really good scene on Aegon's coronation.
Yeah. That was a scene that they wrote and then had to find a place to put it. I felt kind of, they wanted the visual of it and didn't really care if it made a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. And sometimes the show does that every once in a while, where, maybe they just get an idea and they can visualize it in their head, and they think, okay, we want to see this on screen. It doesn't matter how we get to it if it doesn't make the most sense, but we have to get to this moment. And I think, we've seen a few examples of the writing doing that every once in a while. Right. They just want to get to certain moments without proper setup sometimes.
Yep. This is a good one. Yeah, you have many dragons now. Are you? And Rhaenyra was in complete denial. She's like, oh, no. I'd like to think I'm not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have many dragons.
Yeah. And again, it's we're seeing Rhaenyra in particular. I think we're going to continue to see her slowly, or faster and faster as it once season 4 gets here. Her descent into just complete madness and paranoia, to the point where she trusts nobody around her. And I wonder how the Mysaria thing will play out there. Like, on the show, will it get to a point where Rhaenyra just doesn't trust anybody around her other than Mysaria? I really fucking hope that's not the case. I really want to see Rhaenyra go on her kind of that trip of paranoia, that path down to paranoia that she goes down towards the end of the story. Because it just paints the character in a totally different light, puts the character on its head, really, in a sense. And that's always interesting in a narrative, when you see a character's trajectory and you see their storyline, and you have some kind of idea as to where their storyline is probably going to go, and then that just gets completely turned on its head in an interesting way. That's the kind of subversion I don't mind every once in a while. But I guess we're going to see. But yeah, overall, I think this was a fun episode. This was a really enjoyable episode. I mean, every single one always has some scenes that just aren't super good. Yeah. But overall, definitely one of the better episodes of the season, I would say. It had a lot of really fun moments. The dragon battle, again, even a gratuitous dragon battle was super fun to see it play out the way that it did. I really enjoyed that. And then, of course, we had the great Sunfire scene. Sunfire has officially returned. I guess it'll be interesting to see where that goes next. And now that Sunfire is back, I think we have a much more realistic kind of path as to where Sunfire might go from here. In terms of, Sunfire goes on to do quite a few big things. And I don't mean just that big scene at the end of the story. There are some other fight scenes even that Sunfire kind of gets into. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Where are Sunfire and Aegon going to go, and how is the Battle of Tumbleton ultimately going to shape up?
Right. And at this point, I can't really predict because there are so many things that are different.
So many differences.
We've gone over it so many times, but like the High Towers weren't ensconced in Tumbleton at the time.
Nope.
So, and that's a major one, and that's a major either hurdle or a major something that has to be reconciled by the writing. And I'm here for it. I'm at this point. I want to see how they portray it, how they pull it off. It'll be super cool. And just to briefly go back to Helena's dragon dreams, and then Rhaenyra's interrogation of her afterwards. She's Helena. I think when Alicent said that the things that Helena dreams come to pass, I think Rhaenyra really thought that she had kind of like a clairvoyant, and that she could put to use. But
yes.
Where's Aemond? Where's Vhagar?
Where's Aemond? And even asking how her own story ends. How does my story end? Do I ultimately become queen? Surely the gods will it. Like Rhaenyra we're seeing those glimpses of her really beginning to crack into that paranoia phrase. And yeah, it seemed like she was just desperate for some kind of reassurance from Helena here.
Yep, and got nothing. I mean, Helena
got none of it.
Yeah, that ain't how this works. That ain't how any of this works.
Yeah, again, it definitely shows that there is a good deal of fear inside Rhaenyra in terms of what her ultimate fate might be, and that's not for no reason. That's for sure. Yeah, battle was awesome and not expected. Definitely not expected, but it was fun for sure. Dragon type Pokemon battle was good. Again, seeing 4 dragons kind of just go at it like that, that's not something we've ever seen before. That many dragons on screen at once, going at it in that kind of manner too. Not in the air, breathing fire at each other, just on the ground, scrapping it up, single combat style. It was fun. It was a fun scene. It was a fun little unexpected dragon scene that I didn't mind. I didn't mind it. Again, this show is called House of the Dragon, not House of the Rhaenyra and Alicent. We need more dragons, and I think anytime you add a nice little dragon battle into the show, I didn't mind it. I thought it was fun. It was fun. But of course, one thing we always like to ask each and every one of you, and of course you, Ravener, as well, and we will give ours, is our scores for the episode, ladies and gents, on a score of 1 to 10, with 1 being absolutely horrible and abysmal, and 10 being absolutely perfect. What score do you guys give episode 7 of House of the Dragon for season 3? Ravener, where are you standing on this episode?
Man, I'll just with little commentary, I'll just say a good solid 7.75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I'm here for it, and it definitely did. Wow! And I immediately I say with no commentary, and then go directly into commentary.
No, the commentary. Tell us your reason.
No, it whetted my appetite for what's to come in this next next episode, and gives me faith that they might actually stick the landing. Now, if you'd asked me in episode 2 or 3, do I have faith that they might be able to do something good, knowing that Tumbleton's going to be the 8th episode, the finale, I'd have been a lot more skeptical. But this one tells me that they are not at least completely unaware of what, you dance with the one that brought you, and it's the dragons, and it's these, and this is going to be a set piece. This is going to be a big set piece that they had to put into this show. You couldn't do a House of the Dragons show. You can't do a Dance of the Dragons without Tumbleton 1, and the battles that follow. This is one I want to see, man. So I'm super stoked for it. It's dragged down by some of the story arcs that that I'm not super invested in, don't really care for, but those story arcs aren't enough to drag this down below. 7.75. I'm very satisfied with 7 3/4. Room to improve, and they can definitely do that in the next episode. But a good episode, without any, I can say it with my chest. This was a good episode and worth the time.
Awesome. I like it. 7.75 is a solid score. That's a solid score for an episode. And of course, chat, let us know, where do you score this episode? Episode 7 of House of the Dragon. What is your thoughts? We got a 9 out of 10 from Crazy Description. We got a 9 from Ram. Awesome. We got a 10 from Katrina Marie. Best episode of the season. Now, that is what I like to see. I love seeing when you guys are enjoying these episodes. And again, I did too. I very much enjoyed this episode. This was definitely one of the best episodes of the season. Was it the best? I don't know. I kind of have to really think on that, actually. But it's up there. It is up there as one of the best episodes, for sure. Definitely. We got an 8.8 out of 10 from Series Queries. Love that. Rockers gives us a 10. We got 2 10s in the chat. Love that. We got 8.5 from Blue. I also think they might pull it off. Again, just to kind of piggyback on what Ravener said, I 100% agree. Seeing this episode gives me way more confidence that they can pull off something nice on Tumbleton next week. So yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. We got an 8 out of 10 from Mark Christian. Awesome. We got a 7.5 from Series Queries. Awesome stuff, guys. Oh, an 8 point something. Oh, hey, nothing wrong with switching a score. That's totally fine as well. And we got another 8 in the chat as well. So it seems like most of you have enjoyed this episode. We see a lot of 8s, a lot of 7.7s, and a couple 10s. Love to see that. For me, again, this was a good episode. This was a good episode. I think I would be, some of the kind of, some of the Allison and Rhaenyra and Massaria stuff does drag the episodes down a little bit at times in terms of, the pacing and kind of the quality of storytelling. But yeah, overall, I got to give it I don't want to give it the same score as Ravener but 7.75 is so freaking good right now.
Yeah.
But I'll say a solid 7.5.
Okay.
Solid 7.5. And that might even go up to an 8 on a rewatch after rewatching it a few times. I really, really enjoyed this episode. Definitely one of my favorite ones of the entire season, for sure, without a doubt.
And that's all. And if a 7.5 and a 7.75 are the lowest ones that we've even seen in the chat, we don't have somebody trolling saying 3 out of 10 or whatever. If they're genuine, if the chat is liking it at 8 points and higher, that's a pretty resounding success for the show, I would say. If I was a show, I know the showrunners watch our episodes, so yeah, they can rest easy tonight. So they can sleep well knowing that it was very well received.
It was, and that's what it does seem like this episode was pretty well received all around, at least for our neck of the woods anyway, from what we're seeing here. But yeah, I guess we'll see how the greater fandom at large fared, how they thought about this episode. But we saw a lot of people praising it coming in. And I do see some of the aspects of Aegon's performance, at least in terms of being worthy of that praise. But yeah, good episode. This was a good episode. Now, I am very much looking forward to the finale way more now. And yeah, I guess we'll see. What are they going to do with the first Battle of Tumbleton? How different is it going to look? How is it ultimately going to play out? How long is the battle actually going to last within the episode? Yeah, I'm very excited for the finale now.
Yep, and very satisfying. I don't know what else. And we've also only seen the episode the one time. I mean, this is really
That's
the
just off a first viewing.
first blush estimate of what we're seeing, and of course going over the scenes, throughout the show here. But no, man, I think all the criticisms are on point, and the accolades are on point. I think in this one, and I'm very happy that the chat is happy. I'm happy when the chat's happy. So yeah, man, it's the thing. It's definitely on an upswing. We're going into the finale, not with trepidation, not with there's always
on a
there's
high
always
note.
Yeah. So good, good for them. I say good for the show, and I'm happy that everybody's happy for sure, and that's genuine too. I mean, I really am.
No, me too. I mean, anytime you see the chat really enjoying the episode, like the majority of the chat really like the episode. Yeah, it's always fun. You always want people to enjoy this stuff.
I want to see clips of the
and
maniacal
it
laugh.
makes for a better and more. Yeah, me too. Yeah, we can see. I'm gonna get some clips of the maniacal laugh. We're gonna get clips of all of the fun bits that were in this episode. But yeah, had some really nice surprises. Very interesting dragon battle that I was not expecting, and some interesting setup for Tumbleton. I think Tumbleton has some really good potential. Now this was a really, really good penultimate episode. Is there a trailer for episode 8? There is. I have not seen the trailer for episode 8 yet. I will pull it up right now. We'll take a little quick glance at it before we end the stream. And on our next live stream, we will be diving super deep into the episode 8 trailer and giving our predictions. And my episode 8 trailer breakdown video will probably be out on the channel tomorrow as well. But I'm also going to do a nice kind of breakdown video of this episode as well and dive a little bit deeper into some of the aspects that I really, really enjoyed. But yeah, we will check out the episode 8 trailer before we close it down. And I haven't seen it. I have not seen the trailer for episode 8 yet. This will be the first time that I've seen it. And we'll see. We shall ultimately see what it looks like. Here it is. Episode 8 preview. All right. Here we go, folks. Here we go. The episode 8 trailer. The finale, ladies and gents. The final episode of the season. I can't believe it. It's already over. These 8 episode seasons are just not doing it. They're not doing it. I love that we get long episodes, though. When you look at the amount of screen time we get for 8 episodes of House of the Dragon, it's more screen time than we get for 10 episodes of From. Because the episodes of From are just so much shorter. You get an extra 20, sometimes 30 minutes per episode with House of the Dragon compared to From. So even though From has 2 more episodes, House of the Dragon has way more screen time. Way more. All right.
Yeah.
Trailer for episode 8.
News of Aegon's return has set the Queen on a dark path. You have an absolute... You have only to wield it.
Winter Wolves! Roddy the Ruin, the Winter Wolves, they are coming for Tumbleton. They are coming for Ormond in the High Towers. This is what I want to see. This whole season has been building up to this massive battle at Tumbleton. And for me, seeing what Roddy the Ruin does at Tumbleton in the book, in my opinion, I know we've said this in the past, but for me, it's probably one of, if not the single greatest feat I've ever seen a warrior commit single-handedly on a battlefield. What Roddy the Ruin manages to do in the Battle of Tumbleton in the book is nothing short of a straight-up miracle, like the most badass thing you could possibly see. So I really hope that they don't rob him of that moment. Roddy the Ruin better get that freaking scene, or I am going to be massively verklempt.
Yeah. I mean, it's
don't
yeah.
do my boy Roddy like that.
It's his purpose, man. They've stated it's his sole purpose for being. It's the sole reason
is why
for him
we've
to be
come.
in the show. Yeah, that's why he's in the show. So they better not.
This is why we've come. We've come to die for the Dragon Queen, and that's not him just saying that. Oh, we don't mind dying in battle. No, that's him literally saying we came down here wanting to die. Hell, we're not going back north, and that's what's so interesting about the customs up north about the Northerners. Anytime a winter comes around, that winter comes close. Sometimes in the north, you'll see some of the older lords pretty much commit suicide in a sense to free up resources for the rest of their house, because that is how dire it is in winter up north. So when the Winter Wolves say we've come to die for the Dragon Queen, there's a reason why Cregan Stark sent this army in particular down, and why it's all very old and grizzled graybeards, because that is the custom in the north. Winter is coming, not enough resources, so these Winter Wolves were sent literally to die. None of them are going back north. And that's just so badass to come down here knowing that you're not just afraid to die in battle, you are looking to die in battle.
Yeah, and yeah, if they play it in any way like how it plays out in the book, this should be definitely one that we'll be commenting quite a bit on for weeks to come.
Especially an actor like Tommy fucking Flanagan pulling off a scene like that, bro. Come on, it's gonna be so fucking good. Yeah, they better not do him dirty.
He and Roxton have some secret plot afoot. He has kept it even from me.
You still prepared to die for our queen? Can't fucking wait.
Our father would hate you for this.
No fucking way. No fucking way. Just as we're fucking saying it. All right, sorry. We gotta fucking see that again. You ready to die for our queen? Can't fucking wait. That is the Winter Wolves right there, ladies and gents. That is Roddy the Emmer effing Ruin right there.
Prepared to die for our queen? Can't fucking wait.
Our father would hate you.
You still prepared to die for our queen? Can't fucking wait.
He's kept it even from me.
You still prepared to die for our queen? Can't fucking wait.
Our father would hate you for this.
Two paths diverge before you.
Whether you live or die today,
Victory
you will be remembered in the histories.
or a mountain of dead high towers.
Yes. Oh man, Raven, are we gonna get it? Bro, are we gonna fucking get it? Are we gonna get Roddy the Ruin's fucking famous scene, bro? Are we gonna get it?
A mountain of
Are we gonna get it?
I have to think it. Yep.
Oh, we
Yep,
better
yep.
fucking get it, man.
There's blood from head to toe, so that's book accurate.
Oh man, we better get it, man. They better not rob our boy Roddy the Ruin. If they snub him of this, yeah, hey, people have nothing to lose. Are the scariest of individuals. Absolutely. I almost forgot Kristen Cole's head on the spike. Yeah, Kristen Cole's head, fucking chilling on that spike. Yep. I was wondering if they were going to do that on the show, because you hear that described in the book, how they put Kristen Cole's head on a spike after they kill him. But I was wondering, are they actually going to do that on the show to the actor Fabian Frankel? But yeah, they fucking did. No problem. Man, Roddy the fucking Ruin. Hell yes. Roddy the motherfucking Ruin.
dead high towers.
Oh, hell yeah.
There'll be no doubt who the gods have chosen to rule.
Okay, folks, we have maybe an interesting finale on our hands next week. This has definitely got me a little pumped. This is what I've been looking forward to all season. The Battle of Tumbleton, Roddy the Ruin, the Winter Wolves of House Stark, the aspect I've been looking forward to on the show the most, and it's finally almost fucking here.
Yep. And that was one of our quibbles is they brought Roddy in. He hadn't had a whole lot of screen time. It looks like he's going to get his fair share in this one for sure, as well he should. I mean, there's no way you can't, but you never can tell. So, but no, this will be great. This will be awesome.
Yeah, you can never freaking tell, but yeah, I do think this is going to be awesome. You still ready to die for our queen? Can't fucking wait. Can't fucking wait. And just like Roddy the Ruin can't fucking wait to die for the Dragon Queen, I cannot wait to see the finale. I'm very much psyched for it. This again, it's the first time I'm seeing this trailer, and I think it very much hypes up this finale in the best way possible. I don't know. I'm optimistic. I am cautiously and very much looking forward to the final episode. I think they could really do something very interesting with this.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we've talked for a couple hours now about how the episode 7 made us feel getting ready, in preparation for episode 8. Now, and essentially a trailer. I always look at a trailer as almost like a roll call of who's going to be in the next one,
who's going to be in the episode,
and kind of glimpses here and there as to what scenes are going to take place. It looks like it's going to be chock full of good stuff. So. Maybe they're gonna. I hope they do. I hope they stick the landing. I hope they leave it all on the table, and that we're talking about season 4 with huge anticipation at the end of season 3.
Yes, yep. Hell fucking yes. That is the feeling that I want to have back around House of the Dragon. I remember when season 1 ended, everybody was so excited to get to season 2. We could not freaking wait. And then the writer's strike came around and just completely derailed a lot of that momentum. And then when season 2 eventually did get here, it was less than stellar, to say the least. It was definitely the weakest season by far. But this season has definitely kind of turned the tables a little bit. I mean, again, there's always going to be some of these scenes and some of these storylines that are just really tough to get through. But overall, season 3 has definitely been better than I thought it was going to be. I'm enjoying it way more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. And I am legit looking forward to this finale now. After seeing how episode 7 played out, after seeing this fucking trailer, hell yeah, bring on Tumbleton.
Mm-hmm.
Bring on Tumbleton. But that is going to do it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But again, I am going to have my. I'm definitely going to be doing a nice video on episode 7. But I will also have my episode 8 trailer breakdown video up on the channel either tomorrow or the next day as well. So be on the lookout for that. And here we go, folks. The finale is upon us. We have one more week left, and we are going to maximize this week to its full potential. We'll have plenty of streams between now and the finale. And we will be diving into all things House of the Dragon, waiting for Tumbleton Part 1. But again, big thank you to all of you for hanging with us. Big thank you to Ravener, my co-host, and a huge thank you to Ando as well for running the watch parties in the Discord for us every week. That has been super cool, super big help, and can't thank you guys enough. Cannot thank you all enough.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and it's not a small feat, those watch parties. So yeah, definitely a lot of credit to Ando. It's easy to make a commitment early on and then kind of regret it, but he stuck through every episode every time, through thick and thin. So yeah, and they're complete successes too. Very successful, very well attended, and he does it perfectly. So yeah, tip of the cap to Ando for sure.
100%. 100%. But there we have it, folks. Big thank you to each and every one of you. Stay safe out there, ladies and gents. Keep those tinfoil hats on, folks. And we will see you on the next one. Cheers.
Gods, kings, fire, and blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did. The threat of war looms.